Destructoid's #1 retro podcast. You don't want to know why. really do not want to know why we're laughing. I'm your host, Chad Concelmo. Joining me this week are my BFFs, Topher Cantler.
Booyah!
Stella Wong.
Sega.
Colette is a sad, sick girl tonight, so she cannot be joining us. But in place, we have someone amazing, someone famous on Destructoid for just being the coolest person that ever lived. All the way from across the seas, Jim Sterling.
Yay! I hate that hedgehog!
We're very excited about having Jim here. Jim is like the greatest guy ever, and he does like every he writes like 7,000 stories a day, and he does like every podcast, so he's pretty much like the face of Destructoid.
RetroforceGO was the last one to complete my collection
of
podcasts. I now get a decoder ring for doing it.
Do you have like little notches on your bedpost, like of all the podcasts you've done?
All the podcasts that I do. Yeah. I should actually do that. That would be terrible. Yeah.
Well, we're happy you did this.
No, it's an honour to be here. I do like RetroforceGO quite a bit. Always been a bit worried about coming on and ruining it.
No, you're just going to make it better.
Yeah.
And also you're going to make it sound more sophisticated, which is important.
Yeah, yes, I'm a tower of sophistication. A man whose catchphrase is cunt.
Well, but you say it with a British accent, so it makes it sound so fancy.
Fancy?
It's true, I just tell them it's a British word for a British thing. That's how I'm going to get by when I'm in the States.
Yeah, speaking of that, actually, I was going to mention that Jim is actually moving to America at the end of this week, right?
That's right, on Sunday.
Like literally, like you're actually flying here on Sunday.
Like actually flying to the United States of America on a one-way flight. So,
wow,
that's something to do on a Sunday.
Yeah,
sure, why not?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That'll be an adventure.
I've always wondered, like when you're moving internationally, how do you actually move your stuff? Do you just ship it, or do you just buy everything new? Like, which is easier?
I don't know, but it's going to be fun finding out.
Oh no!
I'm not packed. I've just got 2 bags, one for my clothes and one for my video games, and then I'll just see where I go from there. I think that's all I need. Just clothes and video games. That's all you require.
You don't even really need clothes.
I could probably throw the clothes out and put more video games in.
Exactly, that's what I would probably do. But well, that's cool. Well, we're excited about having you here. I wish you were going to be closer to the West Coast, but unfortunately, you're going to be like far,
Did
far
well.
away from California. But that's okay. You're obviously
I'll be
closer.
closer than I was.
I was gonna say exactly. You're gonna obviously be closer than you were. So that's cool. So yeah. So this is kind of a week to celebrate.
Yay.
Woo!
Hooray.
So yeah, this week is Sonic, obviously, and one of the main reasons. Well, there's kind of two main reasons Jim's on, because of the Sonic Week. I know number one, he's a huge Sonic fan, and number two, he is one of the few people that actually has played a lot of Sonic Unleashed, which is the brand new game that just came out this week for the Wii, and it comes out next week for the Xbox 360. So we can't wait to talk about that because Jim, I know you're a fan of it, right?
I am optimistic. I
Yes.
played
It's
a bit
great
at TGS. I'm actually going to be playing a lot more of the 360 version on Friday. I was invited to a Sega thing,
Cool.
which is actually going to be my last UK assignment before I go, obviously. So I think it's a nice one to sign off on. You know, it's
Sounds
Sonic themed, especially Sonic is so popular in the UK. So it's a nice fitting end to my career in the UK, I think.
Yeah. God, it's so weird. I feel like you're not really moving here. I feel like you're just visiting. That's such a strange thing. But okay, well that's cool. Well, we'll get to Sonic obviously after the break. So first, let's get to my favorite segment that was completely null and void last week.
No, there was
retro,
some.
retro amazing news. No, Topher, you gotta have more
That's
passion.
so
It's funny every
quiet.
time.
Dun, 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 dun.
This week there's actually a few things. For this one isn't really retro, but I thought it was interesting, and I mostly want to talk about it just because I'm excited because it's in my city. But Square Enix is opening an office in LA, so yay!
I thought they had an office in LA.
I don't know.
Is
They
that
just
mistaken?
reported on it this week. Maybe it's a bigger
Okay.
office, but whatever it
Oh.
is, that they're having one here, which makes me excited.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but you never know. Maybe it'll be an amazing game and it'll be made here, so that makes me happy. I have no
They
idea.
want to crack the West like very aggressively, which is why I think they're doing it. And they will, I think it's this new LA office that's going to be working on some new action game that they're doing.
Yeah, I did read that.
Today. So I think that's it. Really, is they're just trying to get a stronger base in the West.
I
So
see.
hopefully they'll make some good stuff and not just like horrible Americanized stuff, because that would be bad.
Well, the last action game they did that was pure action was Drakengard. So bright future ahead.
Oh God!
Oh my.
Never mind. I take that bit of the news back. I do not want to report on this. This is only going to end badly.
It might be better than Drakengard.
Yeah, hopefully. Or hopefully it's better than that terrible what was the damn game with Vincent from Final Fantasy VII?
Oh god.
Oh, Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Like a
they're just
service?
that was like the worst thing ever.
That was
it
horrendous.
was bad.
Yeah.
Never again.
Let's just hope it's better than that. Also, I don't want to go too much into this because I kind of want to do a show on this eventually, and I think we will. But Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts came out, which I'm unbelievably excited about just because I'm a gigantic Banjo-Kazooie fan, and I was one of those annoying people that Jim, I think personally wasn't a fan of, as well as a lot of other people weren't fans of. But I was one of those annoying fans that was like, I hate Nuts and Bolts because it has vehicles in it. Boo!
What?
At the very beginning, before even giving it a chance, I was like so against it because I didn't want it to change my precious, Banjo and
I
Kazooie.
see.
But I finally came around, and I'm excited about playing this new one. I haven't tried. I played it at E3, but I haven't played my retail copy that I have yet. So, but I just wanted to mention it because it's a kind of a retro-ish, franchise. So Jim, I heard that you actually weren't a big fan of it. The little you played, right?
I played the demo and I was sick into a little bag shortly afterwards.
That's not a good sign.
Wasn't my thing. I was actually
Yeah.
going down to review it, but after I played the demo, I said I'm not playing more than 5 minutes of that. Someone else. I mean,
it's
some
gonna
people
be-
are liking it. I think it's one of those things that's going to be more of a taste thing rather than a
Exactly.
quality.
Like a hit or
But
miss.
Yeah, it's gonna be like love it or
did-
hate it.
Yeah, and the fact that the text is smaller than a sparrow's bollock doesn't help.
I've actually
Oh.
read a lot about that, actually, like about the text. It's so fun. Even the review in EGM, like not that I like live and die off EGM, but I just remember it as a weird thing. The guy like dedicated his entire review just to the text, and he gave it a low score just because of that. So I was like, it must be really bad.
It's awful, and the fact is, you don't skip the text yourself; it auto skips. So you have to be reading fast and squinting
Oh
because
God.
that text will scroll automatically.
Ugh,
So
that's annoying.
yeah, it's pretty bad. I don't get why they're doing it. Just do.
Yeah.
I don't care if the text, if stylistically, if aesthetically the text in a game doesn't look good, so long as I can read it. It might look like somewhat ugly to have just a white box with black text on, but that's the most readable thing in the world. Give me a white box with black text.
Yeah. We talked about this a few weeks ago, but Secret of Mana for the Super Nintendo has like the worst text ever.
Yes, it does.
I mean, it's like they decided to do some weird like grid fenced
That
background that
horrible
was like
pattern thing.
No.
yeah
that's
with like see through letters to it's the stupidest thing ever. So I can understand like
Bad
how
idea.
text is really annoying. It can almost ruin a game, to be honest with you. But yeah, well, anyway, I'm excited about trying it out, so I'll report back on that. But in the third bit of news, and this is horribly depressing for me. But I think I reported on this on Destructoid last Friday, so it was right after we had recorded. But Stern Pinball Incorporated, I think that they're slowly going out of business, and I think that
Yeah.
they're actually the last pinball makers that are doing it still. I think there might be a couple other companies, but I think that they're kind of like pushing away from doing it. So it's kind of sad to think that pinball machines might be gone forever in the next like 6 months, and that's really, really.
Well, it doesn't mean to be gone forever, though. I mean, if you think about it, when's
Yeah,
the
there's
last
still
time you
going to be
played
a couple out there.
When did you last play a new pinball machine?
No, I know. Well, yeah, that's true, but still, like, I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
eventually.
The ones that I always play are like Terminator or the.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I just think it's sad that if they don't make them anymore, eventually, I guess my point is with the way arcades are and how they're not kept up and how they're dwindling. Like if they stop making new pinball machines, that just is like the end of all. That just kind of a sign of the end, and it makes me sad.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Not really.
See, you guys are great. You're my positive fix for the week, and I never need positive fix. I walk around like clicking my heels like at every corner.
No, really though. What's the newest pinball game that you played?
No, that's well,
Like,
yeah.
what's
That's
the newest
right.
pinball machine that you?
You're right. I
stood
still
at?
play Pinbot, which is like from like 1980.
Yeah, I mean those are from forever.
Yeah.
They're still around.
Mm.
So just because they're going to stop
They'll
making them
always
doesn't mean
be
you don't get to
around.
play pinball anymore.
I just gotta go buy like every single pinball machine in existence.
You'd be so broke.
I know, but then I would keep them up and I would like maintain them, and then I could have like people over to my house to play them, and it'd be kind of cool.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. So that's
Tilt.
week at retro making news.
Are you tired of doing that?
I was
Tover's
tired
totally
of doing it the first time I did it.
yeah. Topher hates it, but I love it, so that's all that matters. So let's since Colette's not here, we don't have a WiiWare review this week for the downloadable, but we're gonna mention something when we get there because there's something that made me extra happy and I have to point it out.
Oh
But we
joy.
will start with the downloadable content reviews, starting with Virtual Console, of course. And the first game is there's 2 games this week. Woohoo! And the first game is Space Invaders, the original game.
Hooray!
Hey.
Space Invaders, the original game for the Super Nintendo. And I have to be honest with you, you know that the Super Nintendo to me is like my child. Like I literally would like Sophie's Choice. We talked about that before. If Sophie's
Yes.
Choice, they literally were like, Chad, you have to save your mom or Super Nintendo. I swear to God, I would have to think about it for a second. Like I love my mom more than words, but like the Super Nintendo is like you guys know. I mean, that thing is just like the greatest thing ever. But I have to be honest with you, I've never heard of this game. Like I never knew it.
I hadn't either. I didn't know it was out on Super Nintendo.
Me either. I mean, I know. I mean, looking, I read something about it and downloaded it and stuff, and it really is just like Space Invaders, but it's like kind of like a Super Nintendo version, which is cool and it's fun and everything because Space Invaders is cool, but there's not really that much new in it. But it's
just
okay.
Space Invaders.
Fine. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say, so I'm kind of like.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it is the 30-year anniversary of Space Invaders this year.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish
There's
I known
like
that.
so
Maybe
much
that's why they-
promotion and merchandise
Yeah,
for
we
it.
have the commemorative Toro plushies.
Oh, that's kinda cool.
But I don't know if I'd pay $5 for Space Invaders.
Well, it's $8, and
I
yeah,
would not pay $8 for Space Invaders.
yeah.
Because you have it on your DS anyway.
I mean,
Yeah.
it has like cool Super Nintendo graphics, but it's really kind of like the exact same game, and it's like, and honestly, if you're gonna play a game that simple and that like old school, you might as well play the original. Like, you know what I mean?
You can play that for free on like many websites.
Million different
you know.
websites.
Million.
So, yeah,
What you
that's not
should do
really-
instead is buy Space Invaders Extreme for DS or now PSP.
That's exactly what my
and
next
play
play.
that instead. Cause that
And I
game
think
is
I
awesome.
actually, it's gonna come out on Xbox Live Arcade too. I think
Could be. I have no idea.
in the next year. So, so yeah, so you're gonna be able to get it no matter what, and that's such an awesome
I
game.
think it is coming to PSN.
Is it?
Oh, really?
I think it is coming to PSN.
Yeah.
But
It's Space Invaders Extreme is like as good and as fun as like Pac-Man Championship Edition, like
Oh, yeah.
that kind of cool,
Oh, definitely.
and like Galaga Legions, like it's in that cool class of like brand new upgrades that is really really.
it's better than Galaga Legions.
Yeah, I agree. Actually,
I think it's way better than Galaga Legions.
yeah, and I love
It's an
Galaga.
awesome game. You should pick it up if you haven't tried it out already.
So don't spend 800 points on Space Invaders, the original game. Save up $8 towards your Space Invaders Extreme fund.
No, hooray for Space Invaders, and that's wonderful, but don't buy that.
Yeah,
Don't spend $8 on
You
Space
can play it
Invaders.
anywhere else. It's just better that way.
yeah. Get Space Invaders Extreme. That's like such an awesome game. And for retro people, that's like the greatest thing ever. We love that game.
What's different about Space Invaders Extreme? Because I see it in the shops, and I've never got it because
Well, it
I
looks
didn't
like
really know
Space
much about
Invaders,
it.
but the gameplay is just frantic. It's,
Yeah,
it's
you
really
get like
fast-paced.
weapons and
Yeah,
different.
there are weapon
modes.
upgrades when you shoot 4 enemies of any color. You get a weapon upgrade. You know, there are combo systems, there are bonus rounds, fever modes. There's just all kinds of different things that are thrown in there to shake it up. So it still plays like Space Invaders,
There's
but
player.
it's really fast paced and it's really just frantic and fun.
oh,
Really fun. It's addictive, and like
Yeah, it's-
bosses are great.
It's really really fun.
Yeah. So yay. So the other game came out for the Genesis, and it's another game I'd never heard of. I wouldn't choose the Genesis over my mom, just to make that clear. My mom would definitely be saved if I had to choose the Genesis. I love the Genesis. I love the
I'd choose
Genesis.
a fucking N-Gage over my mum.
Really?
Oh, poor Mrs. Sterling. Wow, an N-Gage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
What about an Atari Jaguar?
No, let's not go extreme.
Forgotten Worlds though is another. The game's called Forgotten Worlds. I never got to say that. Sorry, but it came out for the Genesis, and I had never heard of this ever, and I'm kind of happy I never heard of it.
Neither
because
have I.
I don't like it very much. It has amazing box art, but that does not make a good game.
No, it doesn't.
But just because I don't really want to waste time talking about the game because it's kind of, well, just so you know, it's just like this. It's kind of like a shooter, but not really. You can play 2 players, and you fly kind of around like a circle, and then you just kind of like shoot things. What was that game? I think it's called Gyrus, where you're the ship that flies around in a circle.
Yeah, Gyrus.
Yeah. It's kind of like that in a way, but it's with guys that fly around, kind of like last week's
I don't like that game.
Gyrus. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
You have like the high score on that shit. On
That's
SPLA.
because that was one of the first Xbox Live Arcade games I ever got, so I played it like every day. And I was like in the corner shaking because I was like so bored with it, and I was like, I must download another game. I think, and it's so sad because I tried to get all the achievements because I was so addicted to that game, but I couldn't even. There's like a couple achievements where you have to play like online co-op, and every time I went in there, I would wait for like an hour, and like no one would join the room. It was like empty. So sad. But yeah, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, Forgotten World. So it's not even that great, whatever. I wouldn't recommend it. But I do have to talk about the box art really quick because it shows 2 guys and probably like the worst. Topher, you would like throw up in your own mouth because the drawing is so bad on the cover. And then in giant letters in the middle of the box, it just says, "I'll finish you today for sure."
Oh my goodness.
For like no reason. So just for
That's crazy.
yeah, but just look at the box art for free, and then don't download the game.
I'm gonna go look at it now.
It's really cool. But yeah, other than that, it's not really a good week. 2 games, kind of mediocre. So I'm gonna give this week a 2 out of 5 Dolphins.
Hmm.
I
Fair
know I
enough.
maybe should get 1 out of 5 dolphins, but Space Invaders is pretty
No,
cool,
it's
so I feel like bad about that. So yeah,
you don't have to. There's
that was the
millions
most
of
that was the most
it.
unenthusiastic virtual console review I've ever done. Yeah, that wasn't a very exciting week. So Topher, I know you can't really talk about anything this week because there isn't anything.
There isn't
You are-
anything. And the
But
only thing that is coming out is the thing that I talked about last week.
exactly, that's what I was about to say.
Really? Nothing until next week?
Yeah. Well, who knows? Who knows even if there is anything next week? I'm assuming there probably is.
No,
I
this
hope
week you
there
get a
is.
new interface to play
Isn't
with,
it-
which is good because that's all you've got to play with.
I was going to say, isn't
Make
a
a-
Kingdom for Keflings coming out?
King who? What? What?
Isn't a
Ooh.
Kingdom for Keflings launching with the NXE?
Oh, is it?
I think it might be. It's like a almost SimCity-ish, but your avatar is a giant.
Oh god.
And
Yeah,
you're
Oh,
there's a
building
new
boy.
thing for the Avatar.
Yeah, I'm gonna look that up because
Uh,
I definitely know that's coming out, but I thought that was coming out next week. But I think Jim might be right. Hold on.
But
Um,
it's supposed to be like the first game. It has the glorious honour of being the first game to include avatars as a playable element.
Yeah,
Enjoy
actually
it.
it is. It's coming out on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Today.
Oh yes, today. Actually, sorry, I forgot about the magic of the the podcast. We have to pretend it's the next day. I get confused.
okay.
Yeah, so I guess I've read a lot about that. You can use your avatar to play within like a game, but it didn't look very exciting. It looked like kind of like a dumbed down version of SimCity. So who knows if it's any good
I
or
have
not.
this sneaking suspicion it might have been a game cheaply and quickly put together as a cheap excuse to showcase avatars, but that's just pure speculation.
Jim, I think you might be onto something.
Yeah. I think you're on the ball.
It's a shot in the dark.
Yeah, so I guess you can download that if you want to.
I don't know why you would say that. The Xbox Live has never steered us wrong. And they would never do
Well,
such a
if
thing.
if you
Is that
believe the
sarcastic?
spin, the new Xbox experience is, and this is Microsoft's words, not mine, the most significant thing to happen to entertainment since the dawn of colour television.
Yeah, did you guys see that quote?
Really is amazing.
Like, that is almost offensive to me that they would say that. Like, I am almost personally offended by that horrible
Don
comment.
Matrick is quoted as saying the NXE invented penicillin.
I am personally offended by that quote, and I would just like to say back to you, Microsoft, your mom.
Well, the good news is, regardless of Kingdom for Keflings, the NXE actually sounds pretty cool according to Topher. So regardless of the game, how bad it is, just the whole experience is pretty cool. So that's at least something exciting. So while you're listening to this, you can download the thing.
Not that it's
Is it-
cool, it's just better and faster than what
Yeah,
we're using
but
now.
that's honestly what's the most important. So I guess in that regard, it is cool because that's what you want, you know. But actually, I was going to ask you, Topher, when you turn on the Xbox, does it automatically start downloading? You do have no choice. Like, can you not just play in the old one, like for?
Probably not. I don't know. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
download it that way. I played
Oh,
it on a
yeah,
debug
my
unit, but-
my download screen just popped up automatically. You don't have a choice.
I'm
to
hearing
download
it's
it.
compulsory, to the point where I believe you have to make an avatar as well, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure you do
you're
have to
forced to make an avatar.
Yeah.
I got into the beta like last week, so I
Yeah,
already
well, that's
made my
cool.
avatar. That's not bad.
Well, that's cool. So, well, we'll report back on that Kingdom game if it's worth it next week. But I'm assuming we probably won't.
No, we won't. No,
I was going to say we probably won't be talking about it ever.
We're never going to talk about that game.
Well, then let me mention then, since Colette's not here, she's sick. We send her our best. I'm trying to formulate an Asuna spell right now, but I'm a
Asuna.
little rusty. So if I send you a Faraga spell instead, Colette, I totally apologize for setting your mind on fire. If that's the case, then I'll send you a Blizzaga, and then to try to put the fire, but I'm gonna freeze Nero, and then I'm gonna try to send you a Thundara spell to make everything better. But then I'm gonna shatter Nero's frozen body, and it's just gonna be a huge disaster. So I might as well let you be healed by like the power of like normalcy.
Normal.
Anyway. So this week on WiiWare, there was 2 games. I have not played either of them, and I'm not going to talk about either of them or review them. But I will mention one of them because it has a really ridiculously funny name. One of them is like the strong bad. Apparently, there's another strong bad game out. It's like episode 4. Didn't episode 3 just come out like last week or something?
Yeah.
They're like really
It's pretty
pushing
good.
these strong bad
Bad
games.
games.
It's pretty crazy. But yeah, strong bad episode 2 came out, episode 4. And then my favorite game this week is called Target Toss Pro Bags.
Booyah! Shazam!
That's
Makes me laugh
horrible.
every time.
Cha-ching!
And just so people know what the punctuation is, because it makes it more entertaining. It's Target Toss Pro : bags. And yes, it sounds.
I think they should do that for every game. You should have like Call of Duty bags, Final Fantasy bags.
I totally agree. And I think that looking at it, the word bags might be like the most unattractive written word like ever created. Like, it's just those letters and the way it sounds. It's just like it's so unexciting. Like Target Toss Pro bags.
What I want to know is who plays target toss professionally?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Professional target tossers do.
That's true.
Remove the word
like how
target
it's
and you've got
the-
your correct answer.
And it's exactly what you think. I mean, I watched the YouTube of it, and you really just throw bags, literally bags, on a target with horrible, horrible graphics. So
It is cornhole. This is what they call it out where in the woods in the
yeah. Apparently,
Joe
Topher says it's
Berling
called
lives.
cornhole.
it's
I've never
called
heard of that
cornhole.
before, so I have a weird feeling that's just a Cantler family thing.
How
The
dare
thing is,
you,
with the
sir.
colon,
Like-
it makes it sound like the beginning of a franchise. Like we might have Target Toss Pro bricks.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Like that's what I was gonna say too. Like the fact that they have a colon makes it sound like it's gonna be like a series.
Oh, no.
You know, give it a couple of years, and we'll have Look Who's Tossing Now.
And starring Roseanne Barr.
This time it's Tossinal.
Or target toss street.
That's the hardcore one.
Yeah, that's the there's
Def
like
Jam
graffiti on
toss.
walls.
And it's like, and it's written in the font is like written in like graffiti.
Yeah.
Street graffiti.
Wow. Yeah. So please do not download that game. No matter if Colette comes back next week saying, "You guys, oh my god, I really wish I wasn't sick last week because I played the best game ever on WiiWare. It's called Target Toss Pro Bags." I will probably #1 kick her off the show forever. And #2, completely regret telling you not to download it.
You have to buy it. You have to buy it, otherwise we'll never get Target Toss Pro Frisbee.
Oh, that's true. You're right. So in a way, you're right. We won't get a second one if you don't support it. So whatever. Fine. It's up to you. I'm not saying anything. If you want it, download it. Great. If not, no harm done. But yes. So I'm giving this week 5 out of 5 chocobos just because I like the name. All right. Next.
What?
Wow.
No.
What?
I'm not ranking.
I
I'm
don't
not
agree
ranking.
with this.
No. I'm not ranking this week at all because that's Colette's job. I'm just joking.
Oh, okay.
But okay, well, we want to get to Sonic because Jim's here, and we're really excited about talking to Jim and talking to about Sonic. So we will be right back after the break. Break. RetroforceGO.
Hello, another new gamer dictionary. Last week I asked you, or actually it felt like a few days ago, didn't it? I asked you to, well, I didn't ask you to, Topher asked you to almost. It was Topher's idea. What do you call it when you're playing an RPG or something like that, and the menu memory that we talked about, the very first new gamer dictionary, what happens when that betrays you and you accidentally find yourself hitting the wrong option and screwing yourself over really, really badly? And Vernix, Vrenix, who I guess I'm mispronouncing his name because it's in an email to me. He called me Anothoni, which is actually kind of awesome. It's like an Italian person is trying to say my name while seducing me. But he wants to call it classical conditioning syndrome because, in his words, gamers condition themselves to automatically react to certain happenings, whether it's going through menus as fast as possible or simply using the controls. We're training ourselves like Pavlov's dogs, but at certain times it just becomes too much. Ergo, classical conditioning syndrome. Because of the repetitive nature, things can just go wrong. Opeth2112 called it both a twitch too far and a touch too much, the latter of which is, I guess, an AC/DC reference. Juan Lopez called it the curse of zombie thumbs, because after maybe the third time you fucked up, you feel like taking a blunt object to your hands. And yeah, they do kind of tend to take on a life of their own. There's a real sense of weird disconnect between what your hands are doing and what your mind is doing. Or maybe it's the opposite. I don't know what it is. I have a very hard time defining what it feels like to have that sense of just automatic hypnosis going on, where everything seems to be acting on autopilot. Like you're aware of it, but you're not. Fuck it, doesn't matter. I'm just rambling. Batthink had my favorite of this week, Slipshaft. It only sort of vaguely is connotative of the sort of thing we're talking about, but I just like how absurdly sexual that sounds, Slipshaft. But as always, it doesn't actually matter what my favorite is. But for this next week coming up, what do you call it when you're playing a multiplayer game or a multiplayer part of a single-player game, and you can recognize that the actual mechanics on hand are good and interesting, but you suck so badly at the game that you fucking hate it, that you just absolutely despise everything about it. And if someone asks you if you liked it, you say, no, I hate it, even though deep down you know that there probably is a good game there, but just your inability to derive any pleasure from it because you're so bad at it has essentially tainted it in your eyes. I have this with Gears of War multiplayer and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I know in my heart that there's good stuff there, but I fucking... Every time I come at someone with a chainsaw, they know how to somersault and roll back and then hit me with their own chainsaw, and then I'm screaming, and then everyone around me is looking at me like I just got upset about the most stupid thing ever, but they don't fucking understand. They don't know what it's like. What do you call that? I'll talk to you next week.
RetroforceGO! And we're back.
Be fat.
Fire, please. Yay! I'm telling you, Jim is such a singer that I feel like he could be the conductor of the Sassy Black Woman Fap Choir.
That would be awesome.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. That would be, and he could wear his monocle, and it'd be so awesome.
That'd be great. And a tuxedo and a baton.
Of course, you have to have a baton.
You have to have a baton.
Of course.
Of course. So this week we are talking about everyone's favorite blue hedgehog, Sonic.
Yay.
Yeah.
And he's only our favorite by default because there isn't another one.
Yeah. If there was another one, then it would be that one.
Exactly. So if anyone out there, any kind of like competing company wants to make another blue hedgehog, we already have your vote.
Automatically.
Poor Sonic.
Yeah, poor Sonic. And we'll be getting to that in a second. But yes, this is a show long time coming. Of course, we wanted to do a Sonic show for a long time, and it worked out perfect that it was Jim Sterling's last week in England and the release of Sonic Unleashed. So, and I know he's a huge fan, so we were like, the stars were aligned, and we thought this show would be the perfect show to do. But yeah, so I guess we should start at the beginning. Before we start getting into all the terrible Sonic games, we might as well just start at the beginning when things were great. And then let's try to remain as positive for as long as possible.
Try.
I've sat there for an hour before the show watching all of the cutscenes from Sonic the Hedgehog's 2006 game. I'm going to try and be positive.
How
but
do
I'm
you
slightly
even
manic
how do
now.
you even make the show without committing suicide?
Don't.
Well,
You
actually,
are not prepared.
Really quickly, before we even start, then we might as well start on a horribly negative note that Jim brought it up, because that game, I have to be honest, that might be the worst Sonic game ever created.
It was one of the worst games Sega's ever put out.
I think it even might be worse than Shadow of the Hedgehog, which is saying a lot, because that game was terrible.
That is brutal.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I mean, I've only played the first level of Sonic 2006. I actually played it tonight because every now and then I have to put on the 2006 demo on my Xbox just to remind myself how bad it is. And it's so it is literally so bad. So I've got to stop saying literally. Apparently, listeners don't like it. But it's so bad that I was actually impressed. That's how bad it was. It is impressively bad.
I know
I
what you
sat
mean.
there and I was
though.
like, how did they manage this? You can't even do that on purpose, let alone by accident. I can't even describe it. I put the controller in my brother's hand tonight and I said, play this. You're going to have an experience. And he had an experience.
In his pants.
Yes. Of his penis just ingesting itself in terror. It's just wow. I mean, I've played that demo on and off for the past several months, and I only completed it tonight, after fighting through all of the glitches and pitfalls, and just elements of where Sonic's homing attack hits nothing but thin air and then falls off a ledge.
That's what I was gonna say. I never played a game more where I've fallen off a ledge more in a game ever. Like
Shadow is
like
the same.
Oh yeah,
The
totally.
homing attack they're obsessed with, because I think just because the handling of the character is so loose that they needed something so that attacks would hit, but it doesn't work. But it's a shame because if you play that demo several times, which I have done, there's some good stuff in there, and it's trying to be good, but it's like locked in a cage by evil. Just pure evil. And there's multiple routes in that demo and some really clever things going on or trying to occur, but it can't do it. Which I think is a problem with Sonic Team, is that they do have really good ideas and some fantastic ability to make some great graphics and designs, but they can't make a game. They just cannot make a game.
Nope. Especially, I mean, that game is, well, I guess they did a good job of making it terrible.
It was fantastic. Literally award-winningly bad.
Well, unfortunately, they don't have awards for that. But if they did, it would be like the Lord of the Rings of.
I do, and they won it.
Well, then let's get back to a good note. Then this will be Chad's time of the week to pronounce 3 Japanese names that I can't say. So you guys are ready for that?
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3 people that are kind of credited with creating Sonic. That is artist Naoto Oshima, designer Hirokazu Yasuharu, and programmer Yuji Naka. I got Yuji Naka right? That
Yeah. You got Naoto Oshima, Hirokazu Yasuhara, and Yuji Naka. Yeah.
Maybe I should just let you do that every week. I sound so American and white.
You have to improve. I have to let you do this.
Actually, no, I would like that. Yeah, because my dream is to be able to speak Japanese.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything to make that dream come true, but I would love to be able to wake up one day and speak Japanese. So I would love, Stella, if you could help me with it. That would be amazing.
Sure.
But my question that I beg to ask is, why do you guys think they chose a hedgehog to be this character? Because I don't know if you guys have had the privilege of actually encountering a real hedgehog in real life.
I have.
I have before, and they're unbelievably cute, and quite possibly some of the cutest animals that ever lived. But they are so slow. They go.
How slow are they?
They don't. First of all, they don't even move at all, barely. Let alone. I mean, they're slow, but they just sit there, and look cute. So I don't understand where they got the idea to put a hedgehog in a game like this. And I'm not even joking. I'm being completely serious. I'm curious, where you guys think that came from.
To answer from a logical standpoint, they chose the hedgehog because the choice was between a hedgehog and Theodore Roosevelt to represent Sega. That was the choice. It was Sega wanted to replace Alex Kidd, so they had AM8 research and development design all these characters. They had an armadillo and a dog and a rabbit, a hedgehog, and Theodore Roosevelt.
An armadillo would have been fucking cool. I think they
armadillo
did it.
turned into a Sonic character. Mighty the Armadillo. The rabbit had long extendable ears and became Ristar.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, I mean the mechanic, Ristar's stretchy arms was originally part of a Sonic concept when Sonic
I
was a
love
rabbit with
Ristar.
stretchy ears.
That's one of my
Bloody
favorite
good
games.
game. But the Theodore Roosevelt character, it was a Theodore Roosevelt in pajamas, and he eventually became Dr. Robotnik.
That is the most interesting, amazing fact I've ever heard in my entire life, and I'm so
very
happy you're on the show this week.
Yeah, I would.
You know,
like-
Sonic's original name as well. Most of this I'm just reading.
No, but this is good. Like, I'm interested
Yeah.
in this.
Sonic's original name was Mr. Needlemouse. That's what Oshima had called it when he first. It was a spiky blue hedgehog called Mr. Needlemouse.
Okay, that is so much better than Sonic.
That is.
Mr. Needlemouse is so like proper. Like it sounds like he should be like an old man with like a top hat and a cane.
And a cup
Wow.
of tea.
That's so
Mr.
interesting
Needlemouse.
to me. Like that there was all those different characters. Well, I mean, I'm happy they chose a hedgehog. It's a great design, and I love like the design of Sonic. I think Sonic is a really great like design sprite, but it's just very very random.
And I think that's exactly why they did it. I think it was an aesthetic
Yeah.
thing because it was like
Yeah.
because he was spiky,
Yeah.
you know, and
Totally.
it was the early '90s and everything was, you know,
And his shoes were.
we were doing that
Yeah.
to our hair, I guess.
Yeah,
Whatever.
and the spikes kind of give you the impression of like like when you draw a cartoon character.
He was spiky and badass and
Yeah, and also like the
rebellious
lines
and-
behind him when they're running, it kind of like
Too
gives you an
cool for
impression of like
school.
fast. Like I don't know.
mhm.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, there's the irony of the ironic factor as well. You know, he is a hedgehog. Hedgehogs are slow. This one's fast. Oh, it's extreme. It's the 90s.
too
that
cool
kind
for
of
school.
thing. Yeah.
Mountain Dew.
And I think Oshima was very clever to colour him blue as well, because obviously Sega has a blue logo,
Yes.
and that was part of the reason they chose it, was because he looks like a Sega mascot.
And
He's
Mario
blue.
was red with the red Nintendo
Yeah.
logo. And that's kind of that makes a lot of sense actually. That's interesting. Well, how were you guys introduced to the series? Like, what was the first memory you have of playing a Sonic game, or even seeing Sonic, or anything Sonic related? Topher?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. It doesn't matter.
I don't remember, honestly. I just remember playing Sonic.
That's kind of how it is for a lot of people with a lot of these early games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think about it, and I'm sorry for the pause, but
No.
you know,
I mean,
I really don't remember. I just played Sonic.
I remember
like,
just because I remember it was when they used to have those kiosks in like Toys R Us, and it was right when they started doing it too. From what I remember, I don't even know if it was Toys R Us, but it was somewhere where they had like a kiosk of it, and I remember playing it and just like thinking it was the coolest thing ever. And that was my first memory of it. And then like of course once I played it and like because I think we've talked about this a million times, but I only played my Genesis games through my neighbor because he was the Genesis kid and I was the Nintendo kid. So I used to go over to his house all the time and play Sonic. And I would always make excuses. He was a nice kid and like I liked him and everything, but I feel like I kind of made more excuses to go over there just to play his games and hang out with him. I'm a horrible person.
No, I
So
think
I'd be like, oh man, like I would make up such ridiculous excuses to go over there. I'd be like, man, like, God, I don't remember his name. I think it was Ryan. I was like, man, Ryan, like that hat you wore today in school was so cool. Like, can I come over and see if we can just like talk about that hat?
Are you
I think I'd be
serious?
frightened if you wanted to come over and talk about my
Like I would just like make up any excuse just to like have any reason to go over to his house, and then I would go over there and he'd be like, Chad, like. Yeah, like, I don't know, I got the hat, and he'd start telling me some long story about how his uncle bought him the hat, and I'd be like, oh, cool, like, do you have Sonic? I was a
I think
horrible
every kid-
person.
No. I think every kid.
But, Jim, like, what is your first memory of that game?
I don't know. I have about 3 first memories, and I don't know which is the real one.
Well, now I'm curious, you have to tell us all
Could
of
be
them.
anyone. I mean, they're all boring.
Well, that's fine.
Well, I mean, one similar to yours is the kiosk thing. I think,
Mhm.
for some reason, I want to say it was in Boots, even though Boots is more of a pharmacy. I don't know why they would have ever have had a Mega Drive kiosk. We call them Mega Drives. A Mega Drive kiosk in Boots, but it
I called them.
may have been in there. Well, that's it. It's only called a Genesis in America.
Oh no, I've
Mhm.
always called it a Mega Drive because
Yeah.
I'd had the imported one.
I mean, the Mega Drive is the it's called that in Japan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Useless facts. Thoroughly
No, no.
useless. Um,
No.
but yeah, I remember playing the original Sonic in a kiosk at one point. Just the bonus. They only had like the bonus stage. You know, the original Sonic the Hedgehog bonus stage where
Yeah,
it
where
was
you get the crystal.
in the like this big sort of maze, and you
Mhm.
had to avoid all the exits, and it goes. Doo, doo, doo,
That's weird that they only
doo.
had that stage. It's not a very good show off of the
Good
game.
God, yeah. But it was. I must have had some sort of background knowledge of Sonic at the time because I still played it. There was that and the old school Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon with Long John
Yes.
Baldry as Robotnik, which was the impression I did at the beginning of the show, which was very, very fun cartoon with some good characters.
That cartoon was great.
It was probably shit, to be honest.
No, you're probably right. I
Watched
agree
it
with you.
now, we'd think that was the most god awful thing ever. But it was fun for the time. There was that, and I think the first Sonic game that I owned came with. My father got me and my brother a joint present, which was a Mega Drive, and we had a cartridge with 6 games in one, and one of the games was Sonic 2, and that was the first game I ever played on the first system I ever owned. So that ties into why Sonic is the most important character. You know, why he's my Zelda or my Mario. You know, whatever these childhood things. So I was always too poor to afford many video games, so that's my retro, really, is Sonic the Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog and Primal Rage. They're my two nostalgic.
Primal Rage is so horribly but amazingly bad at the same time. Like,
It is fantastic and shit at the same time.
it is. It's really fantastic, actually. Like, I could play that game over and over again just because it's so terrible.
Mm.
That's awesome. Well, how about you, Stella? Like, I'm assuming you probably have similar stories.
I've actually saw Sonic in an ad at an EGM magazine.
Oh,
That's
really?
the first time I was introduced to Sonic. Like, I didn't know what it was. It was just this blue hedgehog character. And it was standing in front of, like, the Sega logo. And it was pretty cool. And then my brother just brought it home the next day, and I just started to play it.
It's funny because the memories of playing that first game, it's just like just looking at it. Like, I guess like I'm bringing this up is because of what you said, Stella, about seeing it in an ad. It's like I feel like just looking at it from, like, you know, the character point of view and like some of the graphics, like you wouldn't immediately be like, oh, this is something I have to play right away, you know?
Yeah,
But
that wasn't it for me.
yeah, but seeing it in action, like the first time I saw it, like honestly, like you guys, we all have to probably agree that seeing him go through one of those loops, like
Yes, and collecting
that's
rings.
yeah, it was like the coolest thing ever. Like that first memory of him going over that loop and going over like especially like the twisty loops, like in the second one, like those
Or
are like
when you spin his feet around and then it turns into a ball and then you
yeah, like all that stuff, like, and how fast it went. Like, I know it was such a BS. The whole blast processing thing was totally like not even a real thing. It was just what they called it, just like get people excited. But at the time, I really thought it was like the coolest thing ever. I was like, blast processing, yeah, and I would like put up.
Blast processing was awesome. You shut your mouth.
Yes.
No, it is awesome. I just saying it doesn't
we're
exist.
saying
Like,
it's awesome.
Blast processing is nothing. Like, it's not any kind of special chip or
Blast
anything.
processing was what you did in your pants when you played Sonic. That's what they meant.
That's true, actually. But yeah, it was just that how fast it was, and I think that
Yeah, and that is what made you want to play it. I mean, I remember watching that and thinking, holy shit, like, how is it going that fast? How is that even possible?
exactly, and like it just looked so much fun, and like me being a huge roller coaster fan too. I know that sounds dumb, but like I love roller coasters and amusement
One,
parks,
two.
and to me that was like a roller coaster like on a game. I was like, oh my god, like this is the coolest thing ever. So my head like exploded when the first time I saw it. But yeah, like I think that's one of the reasons the game has kind of lost so much over the years, which is really depressing, is because I don't want to use the term one trick pony because that's kind of like insulting to Sonic because Sonic is so good. But in a way, it's kind of like the speed is what made the game so good. And over these years, when they try to do something different with it and lose that feeling, it kind of just ruins the game in a way.
The thing is, it is often said that speed is what made the original Sonic games, and that's only a half truth.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people fight me on this theory, but it's always been my theory that the original Sonic games were not about speed. Speed was an element, obviously, a very obvious element, but speed was not the defining gameplay factor. The defining gameplay factor was just traditional platforming. So much of the original Sonic and Sonic 2 is slow. There's
You're
a lot
right,
of slow
actually.
things.
Yeah, it's
Waiting for platforms, timing jumps, waiting for spikes to go down. Proper platforming and some really, fantastic level design. I tell no lie, partly because I'm a creature of habit, but so I do the same thing, but there are places in Sonic 2 where I still discover new places, like new paths.
Wow, that's cool.
Especially with Sonic 2. There's multiple ways to get through a level, and there's hidden walls for you to go through where they've hidden an extra life or whatever and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the levels were fantastically crafted, and and speed was used as a reward. It wasn't the gameplay factor; it was a reward. You do like some tricky platforming, and then they give you just this long stretch of loops and unobstructed paths, and just say go crazy for like 30 seconds, and then stop and do some more platforming. And hey, you've been a good boy, have another loop. That's what it was like. Which is something I think they've lost. They've lost the level design because they think it's all about speed now.
It's true.
That is true, because you're right, because even like the game for the Wii, Sonic and the something... Secret Rings. Yeah, like, that is actually not that bad of a game. It's actually... I actually kind of personally like it, but maybe I
took it back the next time.
Yeah, like I don't think it's terrible, but yeah, you're right. That game is almost completely about speed, and once you get to the parts where you are going slow, it's like horrendously designed. But the parts you're going fast are really fun. But there's a couple of parts where you're in like some small corridors and you have to jump on these enemies and kind of jump from platform to platform, and it's almost unplayable. And you're right. I think that the old games did have really good platform design.
And the last time they did a game with actual level design, and they didn't focus on the speed, was Sonic Advance in 1999, which was about the closest to a traditional Sonic that we're probably ever going to get. I would highly recommend that you play Sonic Advance if you get a chance, whether you got a DS or a GBA, or whether you want to not download it. I would suggest you check it out, because it is a very good game.
Well, there's another one that a lot of people overlook that came out after that for the DS called Sonic Rush, and that's actually
I remember that one.
That's actually one of my favorite Sonic games, and that's pretty.
Yeah?
It's dual screen, but it's pretty traditional. Like, I mean, it's almost completely designed with the first, second, and third games in mind. So a lot of people haven't played it because it kind of came and went away. But that's another one I recommend. There was a sequel called...
I disagree, because I played Sonic Rush, and I think it suffers from like what Sonic and the Secret Rings did, but in 2D. It is, and Sonic Advance 1 and 2 had this same problem as well, where the levels are just designed for you to hit the move button and let the game do the rest.
That's true. I guess I was just excited to see that again. That I kind of looked past.
It's a decent little game. It is decent, but it's certainly not what the old Sonics were about. And I don't think Sonic Team wants to go back there to the old Sonics. So all we can really do is hope that one day they nail the speed thing, which, we will get. I meant we're going to get to it later, but they may have done it.
That's good. It seems weird because it's like. Not that Sonic is a simple game by any means, but Sonic the Hedgehog seems, it's not like rocket science. It's not like Albert Einstein designed Sonic 1, you know what I mean? It's just like, it seems I'm like kind of boggled that they can't duplicate the same experience again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even, I understand with 3D, okay, they're trying to do 3D and that's where they mess up, that makes sense. But if you're going to do a 2D game on like the DS or the Game Boy, you would think that you would easily be able to recreate that experience, and it just kind of blows my mind that they can't do that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing with Sonic Sonic Advance. The first one, they nailed it. They can do it. I think they had different people possibly working on Sonic Advance, which might explain it. But I think to quickly show the problem with the way Sonic's going is if you compare Sonic Rush to New Super Mario Brothers, and you see the difference. If you look at New Super Mario Brothers, that game is pure. That's what's so fantastic about New Super Mario Brothers. It's just pure. It's a fucking Mario Brothers game. There's no mistake about it. The graphics are updated, certainly, but that is a Mario Brothers game with traditional Mario Brothers platforming. Very simple, very clean. Rush, you have this tension meter crap and tricks on flaming rails and double screen stuff and just all this nonsense going on. When they could get rid of all of that and then just have a really nice, pure, clean, simple game. And that's where Sonic Team goes wrong.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. You should join the Sonic Team.
I should!
I think I just found a solution to all the bad Sonic games. Jim Sterling needs to join the Sonic Team.
Seriously, make me do it. I guarantee you, I actually guarantee you that if I were to join Sonic Team, there would be at least an 8 out of 10 video game. It would be on the PSN and the XBLA. It would have 3D graphics in a 2D setting, and it would blow your bollocks off.
Oh, I'm already excited. You're getting me excited. Now I want you to really be on the team.
He has to be on the
Damn
team.
right.
Well, what
And it
were
would
you
have a
guys,
chemical plant zone cover with electric guitars.
Please do not have any horrible CG opening that makes Sonic look like way more of a badass than he is.
Oh god, don't get me started. Seriously, the opening sequence to Sonic 2006 is, again, it has to be seen to be believed, but putting Sonic in a world of what are essentially Final Fantasy characters does not work. The opening to Sonic 2006 is like a Final Fantasy. You've got this
it's ridiculous.
and a Dr. Eggman that they've tried to turn into a realistic human, and it's just creepy and weird. And then Sonic starts carrying the princess around and hugging her and going, "Smile! So long as you're smiling, I can keep going on!"
Oh my god, that was so perfect.
That was amazing. Oh, Sonic.
Absolutely terrible. I mean,
Oh my god.
they make it sound so silly. Again, it goes back to the simplicity. You know, Dr. Robotnik or Dr. Eggman, whatever you want to call him, wants to put squirrels in big metal ducks. That's the story. That's all you need. None of this, "Princess, you're coming with me because you've got the mystic gem which I'm going to use to summon the Iblis trigger," and all that bollocks. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's
the
totally
worst. Actually, that's
true.
the worst line, is when Sonic does all that badass stuff, and then you cut to Silver the Hedgehog, and he just sort of looks and goes, "I finally found him! The Iblis trigger!" And how do you say that line with a straight face? They must have been paying him in the millions to get him to say that line without
That is true. It's weird. Someone in the comments, I can't find the question right now, but I'll find it later. But someone said, like, why do all these Sonic games now have so many gimmicks? Like, it's like there can't just be a normal Sonic game. Like they were saying, like every game has to be like, you know, in the desert, or like it has to be like, you know, about like, you know, him turning into a werewolf or whatever. Like there always has to be some kind of gimmick. They can't just make a straight up. Oh, here it is. Loser 7072, he says, "Why do you think Sega finds it necessary to bother with the Werehog section? Scratch that. Why does Sega always have to put a gimmick in their Sonic games? Why can't we just have a 3D Sonic game without all the BS? Examples, Werehog, Arabian Nights, Batitude with guns, etc." And it's true. It's weird. Like, I don't know why they feel like...
I can justify the Werehog. do it when we're talking about Sonic Unleashed. But
Yeah, we'll do that last. But I'm actually really curious about that because I was worried when I saw that it would ruin the game. I'm probably the most optimistic person on this earth, so I definitely have not resigned myself to think that it's going to be bad. But I just get nervous because I agree with Loser where he says, like, you know, talking about the Arabian Nights and all this stuff with the guns and like it gets me nervous. But I definitely
really do that because if Sonic Team does one thing worse than create a game, it's write a story. So I don't know why they try.
Wouldn't it be funny if, like, Sonic Team, like, you know what? I don't know if you ever watch South Park, but there's an episode of South Park where they discover, like, the writers of Family Guy really are, like, manatees floating in a giant tank. And wouldn't it be funny if you found out, like, Sonic Team really was just, like, you know, just, like, a pack of, like, badgers or something? Like, it wasn't even, like, that just pushed buttons on a keyboard and, like, whatever came out, like, they made the Sonic game into, like, they weren't even humans.
Let me tell you the plot of Sonic 2006. Let me tell you, Jesus Christ. There's this princess who's having a festival. Dr. Robotnik comes to kidnap the princess and take her Chaos Emerald, so he can get enough power to summon Iblis, which is a giant fiery dragon that looks a bit like Bahamut from Final Fantasy, so he can rule time. Sonic the Hedgehog saves the princess, but Robotnik captures the princess. Sonic gets the Chaos Emerald. Sonic rescues the princess, tells the princess to smile, so she smiles. Then he teaches her how to run.
Wait, he teaches her how to run?
Yeah, the princess is going, oh, I can't do it, I'm not fast enough. Just feel the wind through your hair. No word of a lie.
Oh my God.
Along comes Silver the Hedgehog, who is accusing Sonic of being the Iblis trigger, so he must die. They have a fight. Robotnik captures the princess again. Then Sonic meets Knuckles. Knuckles, Tails, and Sonic go to see Robotnik to exchange the Chaos Emerald for the princess. Robotnik, of course, double-crosses them and sends them into the future, as you do. In the future, we find out the world has been destroyed. Rouge and Shadow are there for no reason. And a hedgehog that looks like Shadow tells Silver that Sonic is the Iblis trigger.
Whatever that means.
Yeah. Then Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic the Hedgehog get 2 Chaos Emeralds, put them together, go Chaos Control, and then go back in time back to Robotnik.
Those voices are great, Jim.
They realized that...
It's funny because I knew that game was bad, but hearing you explain everything makes it sound like 1,000 times worse. Like,
it gets even terrible. More amazing. Robotnik is on his ship with the princess, and Sonic knows, because he's in the future, he came from the future, he knows that the ship will malfunction and crash and kill Eggman and the princess. So he rushes to go and save them, but fails. The ship crashes, blows up, kills the princess and Eggman. Sonic's all upset. Then Silver says, hey, we could go back in time and change it. They go back in time and change it. And that's the end.
Oh my God.
Horrible.
Yeah, you're right. Like, they just need to stick to, like, Dr. Robotnik putting some cute animals in a giant metal canister.
He puts a squirrel in a robot duck. That's the story.
Well, but honestly, though, like, but I have to say, even though the first story was that really cute story about the animals, they did have that kind of annoying gameplay mechanic where, like, you had to get those emeralds and you couldn't get, like, the real ending unless you got all those. And those emeralds were hard to get. And that always frustrated me because I'm like, I thought those bonus stages in the first Sonic were actually really fun and really kind of cool and creative, but they were so challenging because especially when you would accidentally hit a goal and like when you didn't mean to and you would have to automatically like lose like the bonus level and you'd be so frustrated because then you had to go like, you know, through an entire level again to get it again. But like that was always frustrating because trying to get all, 7 or 8 Chaos Emeralds was like almost impossible.
I never bothered.
It's almost impossible because you can get like 2 or 3 pretty easily, but by the time you get to the fourth or fifth one, you're so far into the game because it's almost impossible to get the bonus stage on every level just because it's really challenging, and there's no way you can do it. So it's like, to me, that was like kind of unfair because you wouldn't get to see the good ending unless you. I mean, the good ending was like one screen difference. I think the bad ending was Dr. Robotnik jumping on the studio.
I think the true ending to Sonic 2 is fantastic.
No, I think Sonic 2 actually. That's what they actually
Sonic
made.
2's ending is actually. Oh no, it might. I think the ending to Sonic 2 might. I might be thinking of the normal one, but it's still fantastic.
I love Sonic 2.
But my brother's actually collected all the Chaos Emeralds in Sonic 2.
That's an impressive feat. I have to be honest.
Sonic thing. It's very impressive. And seeing Super Sonic in Sonic 2 sort of doing his thing is actually, it really is a reward. You really are rewarded.
Yeah, I always wanted to do that. I've
Sonic
never done that.
is awesome.
What's your favorite bonus stage out of all of the Sonics? Because every one had a different bonus stage.
The half pipe.
Yeah,
The 3D
I agree.
half pipe. I love that one.
Yeah, I gotta go with that too.
Me too.
I go
think it
for
was-
it in theory, but it gets... I can't vote for it in fullest confidence, because if you're playing with Tails and you don't have someone else controlling Tails, they are impossible.
Oh,
because
yeah,
Tails
because of the bombs.
will just... If Tails sees a bomb, he'll go,
He'll
oh,
go-
that black thing looks like a golden ring.
Well, I've always
You're
had
totally
someone play
right. He
it.
hits every single one of those damn mines.
does.
Every one. So annoying.
I've
But
always
that's
had
the thing,
someone play it.
I can never diss Tails because I love him. I love that guy. Or
I
girl.
love Tails. Tails
Um,
is
Actually,
best.
this is a good like segue into what I wanted to ask. Who are your favorite and least favorite? I think least favorite is probably the most interesting part of this conversation. But who's your favorite and least favorite like side characters in the Sonic universe?
I like Tails.
I love
never-
Tails.
Yeah, Tails is the best. I never liked Knuckles.
I take it
actually.
you will remember Tails' real name. It does need mentioning on the show, just
Yes,
for
it does.
completion.
Miles Tails Prowers.
Miles Prower. What
Miles
a name.
Power. Oh,
That is it's one of the
I got
greatest names ever. Like,
that's awesome.
yeah, that's pretty much the greatest thing ever. At first, I was annoyed by Tails when I first started
Greatest
playing
name.
Sonic 2, just because I didn't want him to like take away from my precious Sonic. But then he kind of grew on me. He's just so
It was a very
likable.
clever way of doing two-player.
Yeah, it was.
And he could fly too. Propeller with his tail.
Yeah, I mean that way of, even though he's nowhere near as fast as Sonic, just even when he's off screen, having him fly from the top of the screen, so that the second player, we don't need to have a split screen, but we also
Yeah.
don't need to slow Sonic down. It was a very clever way of doing it. So it wasn't really two-player, but it made a very good co-op experience.
Yep.
Definitely.
Chunky B actually asked that. He said, "Did any of you ever play the original games in co-op mode?" My friend had
Yes.
Genesis, just like me, and we'd switch off playing as Sonic and Tails. That was so freaking fun, especially since Tails couldn't really die, so you'd just go full steam at everyone. Actually, I never really played co-op that much. I don't know why, but to be honest with you, I don't really remember it that well. When you played in co-op, how did it work? Did you just have to, could you control completely independently, or did you have to be close to each other? I don't really remember.
I remember being
Oh.
close to each other. That's
What would
I
happen would be the game would follow Sonic.
Yeah.
Yes.
The camera would always be on Sonic. Sonic could and would very easily outrun Tails. And then I believed you were still controlling Tails off camera. You couldn't see what the fuck
Yeah.
you were doing.
That's
You
hilarious.
slowly propel along.
And then, like, after a while, Tails would disappear from wherever he is and then just sort of hover in from the top of the screen.
That's what I remember. That's right. He kind of like
Yeah.
blinked and like hovered in and like just kind of like would join him.
Yeah, and then when Tails hits the floor, then the second player can control him again. So really, you weren't really there to play the game so much as you were just helping out whoever was playing Sonic. So you were
That's
literally
cool.
there as hired
Yeah.
help. And it worked quite well because
I was
obviously
always
Tails
close
can't
together.
die.
Mhm.
So
That's
it's very
kind of
good
cool
to do
because
and send Tails in to do fight a boss for you, like the Metropolis Zone boss is very difficult with the whirling eggs. So you just get someone else, or you just pick up the controller yourself and make Tails do all the dangerous stuff.
Yeah, that's
Speaking
true.
of bosses, actually, I don't want to change subject too much, but I always had trouble with Sonic bosses. Like, not that they were poorly designed. To the contrary, I actually thought the Sonic bosses were pretty well designed and all very different. But I always had trouble with them. I think it was because I was so stressed out about those damn rings that whenever I would get hit, I would try
Oh
to get my
yeah,
rings back, and like I would never think about what I was doing, and then I would just like jump
exactly.
into like a pit or like I don't know, like it always was hard for me to beat Sonic bosses, and I'm wondering if you guys had trouble with those as well.
I've had trouble with them, definitely. Because I was
Um,
so
I did the same
concentrated
thing
in
you
getting
did.
rings, and
Yeah,
I
trying
would
to get my
get hit.
rings back.
Those
Mm.
the
damn
Sonic
rings.
2 bosses, I think I've played that game so much. I
Mhm.
can do all those. The only one that gives me real trouble, apart from the Metropolis one, is the Casino Zone one.
Is
Just
that the one with the
'cause
seesaws?
it's no the one with the seesaws is Starlight Zone.
Oh, that's
Um,
right.
yeah, the Casino Zone is basically you've got three like pinball lever things, and Robotnik comes in his Egomatic, and it actually looks fucking badass because it's covered in like Vegas lights and things. It's got electricity on the top and a grabber at the bottom, so you can only hit him from the side, and you're in like a basin shape, so you have to keep whizzing up the walls and then jumping off the walls, doing wall jumps long before Prince of Persia, and smacking the sides. Um, Actually, it's not before Prince of Persia. Whatever. And he's also dropping bombs at the same time, so that's quite a complex one.
I
But
actually remember now exactly what you're talking about, and that was
yeah.
ridiculously hard.
But apart from that, I
I
mean,
think the
the
boss
last boss on Sonic 2 is a nightmare.
that I was
The
just that's so
music
weird. I was
is
about to say the exact same thing.
unbelievably epic, though.
It's really epic, and it's actually one of my favorite final bosses, but it's so hard.
Mm.
um,
Thing is, it's actually hard. It's not as hard as it looks, because the way Robotnik, that big robot moves is you're supposed to. It tricks you into thinking you have to time when his arms are moving just right. So when his arms are in the body, you hit the body, but that's not true, and you will keep dying if you do that. You just got to keep aiming for like the bottom where its cock would be, and smack that. Just keep kicking it in the bollocks. There is it is simpler than it looks. It's still pretty challenging, but
Did you guys ever use that technique where, especially on bosses, where you would have all your rings, and then every time you got hit, you would only go after one and just keep collecting that same ring over and over and over again?
I couldn't do that.
I just like doing that because it was so much easier for me to manage. Like whenever I would go for like a giant chunk of rings, it would always end up getting me killed. So I literally would just go around with one, and then. But I guess the risk in that is if you miss that one. But I just feel like it was so much easier to
yeah,
grab
but there's
one than if I would
nothing. I don't think there's a greater feeling of despair than watching that one ring just bounce off the screen.
It is like or going into like a pit of.
Or worse, going through. Sometimes it would actually just go through the floor. I often wondered if sometimes the game was designed so that you could only lose that one ring a certain amount of times before it just kind of clipped through the floor. But I've never sort of had that theory proven. But yeah, I mean, I love that system as well.
I actually love that system too, and I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
Like I think.
I mean, you think it would make it easy, but it doesn't. It's actually really balanced.
It's totally balanced because I don't think I ever remember playing a level where I would get hit and be able to collect 100% of my rings back, like ever.
It never dropped 100% of the rings. That's the thing. That used to make me so angry. I used to feel so infuriated that the game was cheating me out of my rings.
Yeah, especially when you had like a lot, like 120, you got hit and only like maybe 30 or 40 would fall out. That's really frustrating.
That said, though, I mean, when you've got a lot of rings and it lets out whatever the maximum it allows, there is something quite satisfying about watching the game slow down as it struggles
to like a crawl. But I agree with you, Jim. I think that system was not easy like people think it was. It was really, really. And it was cool because it was different enough from Mario to make it really original. And with Mario, it was the very classic, like, 2 hits you're dead, or even 1 hit and you're dead, depending on, what size you are. But with Sonic, it's like, yeah, you could be at any different part of the game and have a different amount of rings and it would affect it differently. And I think that's really cool.
Plus, it's such a scary feeling when you've got no rings. You suddenly
totally
become really worried until you see one and think, thank God.
I always think back how slow I used to go when I would have 0 rings. Like, I would walk through like on a crawl, and like every time I would see an enemy, I would oh god, this is so nerdy. I would see an enemy with no rings, and I literally would like take a breath. I'd be like, okay, and like I would have to time my jump like perfectly because I was like so paranoid that I was gonna get hit and die. But then once you hit them, and like you'd move on a little farther, you'd see some rings, and it'd be like such a satisfying feeling to get another couple rings, and then you have a safety net. But really quick, before we get into like talking about more of the games, I'm just curious what your guys' favorite Sonic game is. I have a list this week, so I'll get to that when you guys are done. But I'm just curious what your favorite Sonic game of all time is.
Sonic 2.
Yeah, Sonic 2.
I love that one.
Yeah, you can't deviate.
See, Sonic 2 is actually my number 2. Let me tell you what my favorites are. So,
Okay.
I was gonna make my list of the top 10 favorite Sonic games, but then I realized I don't have 10, which is really sad.
Aw, it's okay.
I know. So I made 7, but then I feel like I should make 8 because 8 I have to give an honorable mention to. So number 8 is Sonic and Knuckles. I love that. I like that game. It's not one of my favorites, but I think it's good enough to put on the good list. So I didn't want to like leave that out. Number 7 is, this isn't really kind of a Sonic game, but I love Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. The game is so awesome. It's a puzzle game. Number 6, Sonic Rush, which I might replace by Sonic Advance because I'm going to go out and play that like tomorrow. After Jim said that, because now I'm really excited about playing that game.
It might go even higher than that place. It really is a great game.
No, yeah, now I'm excited.
Really
now I'm excited. Number 5 is, this is also not really traditional Sonic game, but have you guys ever played Sonic Spinball?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, that wasn't all that horrible.
See,
It
I
was
like
good.
it.
Oh yeah, I've played a tiny bit of it.
It's not great, but I actually think it's surprisingly good. It's like a pinball game mixed with a Sonic game. It's actually really fun.
Made by a completely different company as well, I think.
Yeah, no, it was. It was completely made by a different company. But it's pretty addictive. I mean, I don't know. It's not on the Virtual Console, but it might be on the Virtual Console. Anyway, whatever. But my number 4 is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Number 3 is the original Sonic the Hedgehog. Number 2 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And number 1, this is a tough call between 1 and 2, but my number 1 favorite Sonic game is Sonic CD.
Really?
What?
Sonic CD.
Really?
I
Really?
love Sonic CD.
Oh.
Sonic CD has the best first level of any Sonic game ever. And it
This
also
is where
has,
I get upset because I've never seen a copy of Sonic CD.
oh wait,
Never
really?
seen- I've never seen it. I've never seen a Sega CD. They made them
Oh,
free.
no.
Aww,
I've never been able to
that
see
breaks
one.
my heart.
Oh,
And
see,
you'll
Jim.
have to stop by my place on the way out.
Yeah,
To,
Topher
I think
has
I
one.
will. I mean, I tried not downloading Sega CD like 2 weeks ago because I knew a Sonic episode was coming up and I really wanted to play it, but I can't get to work. I've tried it. You have to do something to Jen's to make it up and running and do all kind of weird fiddly stuff. But the thing is, Sega has re-released the first 2 Sonic games so many times, yet they've never re-released Sonic CD, even though so many people say it's the best one.
And Sonic CD is like, it's such a cult. Like, people that play Sonic CD, like, I think there's some people that don't like it just because I don't think they know it as well, or just because they maybe just not a fan of the ridiculous opening anime
I'm not.
CG sequence, which I understand, like, it's a turnoff, but once you get past that, it's actually like, Sonic CD is probably, I bet people will probably pick it as their favorite more than any of them, besides Sonic 2. You know, I think those two are kind of neck and neck. But the level design in Sonic CD is so superb, Jim. Of like all people, you would appreciate it. And the first level especially is just like epically good. And I think the first level in most Sonic games are kind of like, you know, the really fun opening levels. So, you know the first game, I mean, they're never hard, but the first level in all Sonic games are always like the fun, like just run through as fast as you can levels that get you all excited before like they get really hard. And Sonic CD just does that really well. And I don't know how you can get it but if there's any way you get your hands on it, Jim, I totally recommend it. I think you'd really like it. Of all people, I think you'd really like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I should just get in touch with Sega and just say, fucking re-release it, you twats.
And that's like the one you think that they would probably release more because since it's so rare, like you think people would be more excited about that. Like if they released that on Xbox Live Arcade, people would get way more excited about that than like Sonic 2 or Sonic 3, you know?
Which is out on everything.
Exactly.
With compilations of.
Yeah, but
I know what
hate
I'm saying,
how
they
Sonic-
probably just lost the code.
You're probably right. Sonic Team, you know, the pen of
I put
badgers.
it down for a second.
I put it down for a second. Yeah, it's really fun though. I hate how it's called Sonic CD though. Like for some reason, I feel like that name just implies it being bad.
So cheap.
Like,
Well, it
'cause I
doesn't
think
help
was-
that CD is an abbreviation of crossdresser. That's what I'm thinking when I see it.
That's
Sonic
true. Well, when I think of CD games, I think of like Night Trap and like those terrible, terrible Zelda games on the like the Wand of Gamelon or whatever. So it's like it's frustrating that people associate Sonic and CD as like being awful, but when in actuality it's totally that traditional Sonic game. It's really, really good, and I just feel bad that it has that horrible name, but yeah, whatever. I love it. It's great. So how about the music? Do you guys? Like, I think a lot of people that are huge fans of video game music always name Sonic, one of the levels in Sonic, as one of their
Really
favorite
great
music
sound.
pieces of all time.
Mhm.
And it's funny how so many people like different ones. The one I feel like I've heard the most from people about their favorite thing of music is Starlight Zone.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
People
God.
flip
So
out
awesome.
When they
over Starlight Zone.
When they included Starlight Zone in the Sonic medley at Video Games Live, I shat semen out of my arse. I
Awesome. So awesome.
Oh my god, this is the most hardcore Retroforce ever. I don't think that
I
phrase has ever
apologize.
been.
I'm really sorry because I'm like, I always told myself if I were to do a RetroforceGO, I'd keep it clean because I see RetroforceGO almost as the family show of the Destructive Podcast.
Wow, really?
Well,
really?
in comparison, you know. And then I
true,
come
I
along and I just sully everything.
No, I don't care. I think it's-
RetroforceGO
No, it's
purists.
fine.
No,
that was
it's
awesome.
amazing. It's amazing. It was just
That was
funny.
the greatest line you've ever
So
said.
I can just imagine like RetroforceGO purist fans who have always been happy that it's at least one thing that Jim Sterling hasn't been on to ruin. And then
Whatever. You see how many
Here
people got
we
excited
go.
about Xenon? This is probably gonna be our highest rated show ever. Everyone, Jim Sterling has like a following.
You do. You have a huge ass
Yeah.
following.
It's pretty cool.
I also have a huge ass, so
Which also follows him wherever he goes.
but
But
Starlight Zone is fantastic. It's the faux sax, the little
Yeah.
MIDI sax.
Yeah.
it totally is the MIDI sax.
Right.
And actually, I had the same reaction as you. Maybe not as graphic, but I had a similar reaction during Video Games Live. They played Starlight Zone 2 at the Sonic medley, and I lost it.
It's
It's just,
fantastic.
it's so good. It's so recognizable too. Like, well, as opposed to like, I mean, compared to the first level song, I mean that's probably the most famous. But Starlight Zone is so classic. I love it. All
But
the
there's
music.
that. I mean, if I were to pick a couple, I'd do Starlight Zone easily.
Mhm.
Hilltop Zone from Sonic 2
Mhm.
because it's just such a happy little country
It
tune.
is.
It's really there's just a little hook in it. Just the bit that goes do 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 do
Yes.
do do do. That little sort of section is fantastic, and the other one which I really love because it's just so sweeping and epic is Sky Sanctuary from Sonic and Knuckles.
See, I don't
Which-
remember that music very well.
Oh, it's really good. It do 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 do
Oh,
do do.
remember
Wait, that
that.
does sound familiar.
Very good.
I don't
Very,
think
very
you
good.
realize how huge of a smile I have.
Yeah, I was just gonna let him keep going.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. I was like, just do this the whole show. Like, that would be the greatest show ever if you just sang all the Sonic songs.
There's an orchestral remix of Sky Sanctuary Zone that I can't remember who did it, but it was
I'm gonna
linked
check
to me
that out.
in IRC. If you can find it, because I've had trouble tracking it down since I heard it, but it's unbelievable. There's actually, I can't remember the place, I think it's called OC Remix. They
Oh,
do a
yeah.
lot of remixed songs, and
Hmm.
some of the Sonic ones are fantastic.
I'm gonna
I
check
mean,
that
one
out
of the
like right after
popular
this.
ones is the, I can't remember the fucking name of the zone, but the Ice Cap Zone from Sonic 3 has a lot of good remixes. And I've also,
Cool.
it's not part of OC Remix, but I've actually heard a rave version of the boss music from Sonic 2.
Are you
Um,
serious? That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's so out of context, but it's really good.
That sounds
Okay,
really
whoever thought about that is officially cool. Like that's what a random thing to remix into a rave like techno. That's awesome.
That is badass.
Well, before we get to any kind of questions, I mean, I know there's a lot of the questions have a lot of stuff we haven't covered, which is perfect. But I want to get into Sonic Unleashed because I want to talk about that because I'm so curious. So if you don't mind, Jim, I mean, I don't want you to feel like, I'm relying on you too much, but please, like, I'm really curious about everything. I'm curious about how it plays. I'm curious about, like, how it's designed. I'm really curious about the Werehog section. So please, if you don't mind, like, let us know. Like,
No, I mean, you don't have to ask me to talk about that, because I talk about it
Well-
whenever I can. I think I'm making a few readers sick with my constant warbling, especially because it's not the second coming. It's not going to blow your mind, really. But what it is, from what I've played, I mean, I can't really say more until Friday when I've played a lot more. But what I played at Tokyo, I played one speed level and one Werehog level. And all I can tell you about it is it's a fun little game. And that's all I
that's
want.
perfect.
It's a
Exactly.
fun little game.
That's all it needs to be.
Yep.
Yeah. The speed section
Yeah.
is... I mean, if you like Sonic Rush, then you will like this. But I think they've managed to do something with it that really works. If you can just drop Sonic, like the original 16-bit Sonics from your mind, if you can just forget them, just leave them at the door, then I think you'll find fun in there. What the speed sections are about, it's not a platforming thing, it's not life or death kind of, most video games and Sonic were about life and death. It's not about that, it's time trials, basically. It's almost like a racing game. And it's designed, I think, for replay value, to get grades, because you graded on how many rings you get and what time you do the level in and all that. And it's about a perfect run. It's basically about making you look as good as the trailers. Because people look at those trailers and they think, oh, it's all autopilot, you just press the move button to win. Try it. Try pressing just the move button and looking as good as those trailers. You look like a twat. And that's what the speed sections are about. It's not looking like an arsehole. I played it on the show floor. I actually had some Japanese folks were sort of crowding round, and I had some Japanese reporters were actually filming some of the Werehog gameplay I made. So that's probably on the internet somewhere, but you wouldn't be able to tell it was me. A good thing as well, because I got my ass kicked. But it's embarrassing if you fail to hit the button in time and you smack into a wall and slow down, you feel and look like a twit. And that's what it's about. It's about doing this perfect run from the beginning of the level to the end of the level, going through it really fast and hitting the buttons at the right time and ducking when you need to duck, homing in on a spring without slowing down, and you feel great. And that's what it's about. It's about feeling great. And I think on that count, it might not be the most interactive experience, but to do the perfect run it's good. It's good stuff. So I was impressed, and what I'm more impressed about is if you think of all the bad things that were in Sonic 2006, they're not there. They're just not there. There's no cheap. The only time I fell from a pit, it was my fault.
Yeah.
I mistimed a homing jump. It was entirely my fault. And as far as the homing jumps go, they work. For the first time ever, homing jumps work.
Is it all 2D the entire game?
No, it's what it is it's split. the game switches perspective. I believe it's roughly every 30 seconds.
It
It
does,
switches
and it's
behind
fantastic.
Sonic to the side of Sonic.
Jim,
And
I
they've
remember
designed-
when Jim first posted that trailer that showed the first, I don't know, couple of minutes of gameplay, and I saw that, I jumped right on GChat with Jim and was like, "Is this real?" Because if it is, I might be interested in a Sonic game.
That sounds cool.
It's designed to switch perspective every 30 seconds. But the most amazing part is it's so seamless.
Wow.
You'll have the camera behind Sonic. Sonic will hit a loop, and then the camera will think, right, you're not controlling him. Let's switch perspective. Now we're in 2D. Then you'll do something else, like maybe another loop, or you'll be bouncing on a spring, and then the camera will sweep back behind Sonic, and you won't have lost any momentum. The camera will switch constantly.
No,
but
that's
so
good
subtle,
design.
you won't even notice. And it didn't fuck me up once. Now, again, I'm only speaking of the one level. It could get worse. But from what I've played so far, just the flow is amazing. And a lot of it, I mean, there's QTEs in there, which I know upset a lot of people, but I think they make sense. You know, they're quite well done. You know, as Sonic's running along, you'll need to press like one of the buttons to make him duck and slide under a
I'm fine with that.
That's fine.
Yeah.
One of the bits that makes me really excited is the new sidestep, where you use the shoulder buttons to make Sonic dash from left to right while he's running forwards. And in one of the trailers, they see a nice bit. There's QT prompts, but I don't think they're always there. But there's like this corridor that has like very sharp turns from left to right along the corridor, and as you're making Sonic run through this corridor, you've got to keep pressing the shoulder buttons to make him sidestep from left to right to whiz through this corridor, and it's really well done.
Cool.
So yeah, he can also drift, which I just think is awesome.
He can drift? That's awesome.
And his little legs go, and there's a little skiddy noise.
That's cool.
That's good. Another good thing is that they brought the design back a bit, so it's not completely like Oshima's old design, but with Sonic Adventure, it was Yuji Uekawa who sort of redesigned Sonic and made him look very weird and lanky and anime-esque. But they brought the design back a bit. And Robotnik looks like proper Robotnik as well now. He's not like that Final Fantasy kind of character. He's proper cartoony again. The opening sequence, actually, between Sonic, it's like a big epic fight between Sonic and Robotnik, and it's really well done. It's like, I think most of the budget went on.
Well done. It looks like it's out
really
of a
good. Yeah.
Pixar movie.
It looks, a Pixar thing, and it starts with the Star Wars.
Wow.
It's like when you press, like you've got the title Sonic Unleashed in Space, and when you press start, the title disappears and it scrolls down like in Star Wars, and then Robotnik's ship comes by like a Star Destroyer.
Okay, I'm excited for that game.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But you see, this is what happens. You say, I hope you don't mind talking about Sonic Unleashed, and then I launch this huge spiel.
Well, no, because like I have a couple questions too. Like, how does the Werehog stuff work? I mean, how does it? First of all, like, how is it incorporated into the game, and like, how is it different than the regular gameplay?
Well, I know I said earlier that I would justify the Hedgehog thing, the Werehog thing, and
yeah.
This is a very rare, and hopefully the first of many new instances of Sega being quite clever. Which I know hasn't happened in a very long time, but they're being quite self-aware here. What it is if you look at the Speed Sonic stuff, I think on its own it would be fun. It would be too shallow to support an entire game, which I think is a big problem with Sonic Rush. Is those levels are really good, but if just on their own, it's not very substantial. Then on the other hand, you've got this sort of simplified God of War, Prince of Persia light style platforming action game, which again on its own would be very shallow indeed. However, if you then swap the speed, action, and the like the speed levels and the action levels, and interchange them, it keeps the whole game fresh. And I think that if it works the way I'm thinking it's going to work, that is very clever, very savvy stuff from Sega. Is to just mesh two gameplay elements that would not work very well. Well, they'd still work, but they wouldn't be very captivating on their own.
Mm-hmm.
Put them together, and then you've got something that keeps feeling more sort of interesting. So yeah, that's how I justify it. The actual Werehog gameplay is highly inoffensive. It's really not bad. Is it fantastic? No, it's not fantastic. It's not Devil May Cry. It's not Ninja Gaiden. But it's good. It's some simple combat. It's, you know, the combos are quite simple. You know, it's square. Well, I'll just use the PS3 button layout. It's square, triangle, does one attack. Square, square, triangle, does another. Square, 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 triangle. That kind of combo tree.
Yeah.
And then when you deplete the enemy's health, like in God of War, you can initiate a QTE to do a finisher, which does get a bit boring because every enemy just has their own way of dying, so it's the same thing. But it's decent. It's really decent. And the Prince of Persia stuff is quite good as well. They've made it a bit kid friendly because obviously they want children to play this, just as much as they want old school fans to play it. So if you think you can handle like some God of War light, then I think you'll find a lot of fun to be had in it.
That sounds great, actually. Like I was planning on picking it up anyway, but now I'm even more excited. So
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't get your hopes astronomically high.
No.
I think you just need to go in there with an open mind and just expect a fun, as I said, just a fun little game. And I think if they can pull it off, because I can only speak from 2 levels so far, and I would really hate to make people too excited, because I've got so many people now saying, "Oh, damn you, Jim, you're making me really excited," which means I'm going to be tarred and feathered if it sucks. And I don't want to be the one who, I don't want to be a false prophet on this. But again, I can only stress enough that just from what I've played so far, I saw a fun game, and that's all I can really say.
Cool. Are you reviewing it for the site, or is somebody else reviewing it?
I'll be reviewing it, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Some people said I shouldn't because I've been posting about it so much, and I'll be Zomg biased. But hey, it wouldn't be the first time.
Honestly, in situations like that, it's kind of better, I think, because you're excited about it. You know the most pre-knowledge about it. Like, I think that makes it more fair in a way. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but anyway. Well, cool. Like, that sounds really awesome, actually. Would you compare it to any other Sonic games, like old school retro ones, or is it kind of its own beast?
It can't be compared to old school. If you try and expect Sonic 2, then you're not going to have a fun time. Like, you're not going to have fun if you're just saying... Because I was speaking to David Horton, who used to work with us, and he was very upset with it and said, I want old school Sonic. And I told him, I said, stop pining for old school Sonic. Just, if you can accept that this is what Sonic is now, then
old school Sonic is gone forever.
Yeah, it is very sad. But if what I played represents the future of Sonic, I can live with that. If they keep it as good as it looked, then yeah, I can live with that.
That's exciting. Well, that's another thing. Like, I mean, with a lot of the Mario games, Mario has been similar, but in the same time, he's still kind of evolved over the years, and people have not only liked it, they've actually embraced it. Like, I mean, like, Super Mario Galaxy is arguably one of the most critically acclaimed, iterations in the series, and that was this most recent one, but Sonic seems to be going the opposite. It seems like whenever granted, I think it's because maybe the Sonic team hasn't put as much, care and masterful design into their newer Sonic games, but at the same time, whenever Sonic tries to do anything new, people like freak out and they're so angry, and it just seems like it's such a different... People just, I guess, want an old school Sonic so bad that they're not willing to accept change.
I think one of the problems, I mean, it's not confirmed, but there is some who believe that Sonic Team doesn't want to make Sonic games, which sounds ironic, but there is this belief that Sega forces Sonic Team to make Sonic games, because they want to sell them to Westerners. Sonic's not all that popular in Japan. It's mainly Europe, where, because the UK has this huge crush on Sonic. Most UK games media writers, like there's myself and UK Resistance as well, it seems to be genetic that British people love Sonic. And Japanese people don't so much. And I have this, especially when you look at like this Final Fantasy style story that they tried to force into Sonic 2006, it's almost like they're trying to turn Sonic into the kind of games they want to make, rather than making a Sonic game. And I think that might be where they're going wrong.
That actually is a really good point. I think that you're totally right.
It's just conjecture, but it's a theory that I think it certainly makes sense.
That's actually a really good point. Jim Sterling's a master of Sonic. Are you guys? Is England as obsessed with Sonic as as Korea is with StarCraft?
I've not heard anything in the news about parents letting their babies die while they play Sonic. But I don't think we're at that level yet. But
that's fun.
They did do a little poll during the video games festival that we have in London every year, and Sonic was voted over Mario as the UK's most. It was only like 500 people, but Sonic was voted the most popular video game character of all time.
Yeah, that's interesting to me.
But it's very weird that the UK has this love for Sonic. I've still never been able to work out what it is. I'm trying to employ journalism to find out. But it's like the world's first Sonic the Hedgehog convention was held in London this year, in fact, which I went to, and it was awful. And I don't want to put it down because I know the people who organised it. It was some of the guys from Sonic Stadium, and they obviously put a lot of effort into it. But I was there for an hour, and then when I saw that the people who were attending were singing along and knew the lyrics to the Shadow the Hedgehog theme tune, I decided to make my excuses and leave.
Wow.
That's special.
That is scary.
Yeah. The trouble is, you think you go to one of these conventions and you think, I'm going to blend in. These people are going to be as pathetic and nerdy as I am. If not more so, I'm going to feel normal. No. People at conventions seem to enhance your own nerdiness so that you feel worse when you should be feeling better. I saw a glimpse of myself in the mirror while I was at that Sonic convention. I said, I look like these people. I have to leave this place at once.
Yeah,
but
I know that feeling.
I got a very nice T-shirt out of it. It says Summer of Sonic on it. It was not the Summer of Sonic this year.
That's cool, though.
It was just the regular summer.
All right, let's get to some questions, because there's a bunch of things that people covered, and I don't want to, miss any good ones. But there's a couple quick ones. Mikey asked, "Do you like the name Dr. Robotnik or Eggman better?"
I like Eggman.
Oh, you do? See, I love Dr. Robotnik so much better.
Yeah, I like
It's all
Robotnik.
Robotnik.
I always heard of Eggman, that's why. Because he was so shaped like an egg. So.
I agree with that, but I don't know, it's not very intimidating.
Really
Like, at least Dr. Robotnik sounds cool.
It does.
I don't know if you know
Also-
the whole story with the Robotnik thing.
Mm-mm.
I mean, he's always been called Eggman in Japan. That was his name, Dr. Eggman.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I believe it was Sega of America that called him Robotnik. And they actually made up an entirely different story. Sega of America, what we believe to be the proper Sonic story is not the proper Sonic story. The story I heard when I was growing up was Robotnik used to be Dr. Ovi Kintobor, and he designed. He came from Earth to Mobius and discovered Sonic and gave him sneakers that made him run really fast, and he ran so fast that he turned blue.
Oh, I never even heard that.
I
Yeah.
heard about that.
Yeah, I saw
He
that
was
in the
trying
comic.
to. Yeah, he was trying to make the world a better place by collecting these rings and sealing evil inside them. But something went wrong. There was an explosion, created the Chaos Emeralds, and it had turned Dr. Kintobor into his opposite, which was an egg-loving fat man called Robotnik, which obviously is Kintobor backwards. And I grew up believing that, and it's all a lie. None of that happened. Sonic the Hedgehog has always been set on Earth. It's never been set on Mobius, which I never knew until recently. And he's always been called Dr. Eggman. But Sega has actually gone back and kind of merged the two kind of Robotnik stories. So the story now is his real name is Dr. Robotnik, but his nickname is Dr. Eggman, and everybody calls him Dr. Eggman, including himself for some reason. The one thing, though, that Sonic Chronicles did right, that game isn't very good, but the one awesome touch I noticed was in that game, everybody called him Dr. Eggman except him, and he'd constantly talk about himself in the third person and call himself Dr. Robotnik. And I love this idea that Sonic
That's kind of cool.
Eggman, and he calls himself Robotnik, and Eggman is more of an insult. But it's a weird thing. It's like, for some reason, he's called Dr. Robotnik, but he refers to himself as Dr. Eggman anyway, so...
That's interesting to me. Like,
I know
it's
more
really
about
interesting to
Dr.
me
Robotnik than I should.
that there's. I'm like, I literally, my jaw is dropped during this whole episode. How much you know about Sonic? I'm like,
Yeah, you know a lot about Sonic.
oh, it's like I feel like I should like step down as like a member of the show because I'm like I do not know enough about Sonic.
It's the only retro thing I know anything about.
Well, it's impressive nonetheless.
It is.
Well, Cranium, you know, is our friend from the other show, and we love him to death, and he's amazing. And he actually, Sonic is another series he really hasn't played that much, and he wants to play, you know, with his son, who, by the way, is the cutest person ever, and we all know that because he was on the show. But he wants to know maybe which games he should play from the past to kind of get started with the series, and I think that's kind
Sonic
of an
2.
obvious. Yeah, I think it's kind of an obvious. Say, of
Oh,
course, like
contest.
Sonic 2, and Sonic 3 would
Yeah.
probably
Yeah, I mean, Sonic
Those-
1 is by no means a bad game, and it's got Starlight
Yeah.
on it. But it's,
I just like
it's
2
got
because of the co-op.
It's not got the spin dash. That's the thing. I think
Mhm.
that the
Yeah.
spin dash is what really made Sonic 2.
Yeah.
It's very hard to go back to the first, because I was playing the first Sonic tonight in preparation, and it's not a bad game, but most of the levels aren't really that good. I mean, the first level's decent. Marble Zone is actually shit.
I hate
Labyrinth
Marble
Zone is a nightmare.
Mhm.
I can't even remember. The Spring Yard Zone is just boring. Literally, the actual goal of the first Sonic game is to get to Starlight Zone and listen to the music. That's the
Yeah.
actual.
You're actually right about that.
That's
You
the
are
whole
correct.
aim of the game. Once you do that, you've won. You don't have to play the
Yes.
rest.
That's true,
That's really
actually.
funny.
I actually do that with Sonic 2 as well, because I don't like Metropolis Zone. I think Metropolis Zone is one of the most evil things ever made. It's just horrible. Like, hiding crabs that can punch you at the edges of levels, like at the edges of platforms, and those praying mantises that throw homing sickles at you. It's bollocks.
It's almost impossible to dodge those things.
The worst thing is Sega obviously knew that level was the worst, because it's the only level in the entire game that has 3 acts. Nothing else has 3 acts except the worst one. That is cuntish. That is the work of the mother's hand. It's
Great
disgusting.
words.
So for me, I mean, Sonic 2 is basically over once I've completed Oil Ocean. Because all the best music's been used up and the best levels have been used up, and then you've just got 3 acts of Metropolis Zone and Sky Chase Zone and not Flying Battery, but the airborne one, and then really not all that good. So I usually get to Oil Ocean and just say, I've had enough.
It seems like every Sonic game always has at least like one terrible level, like that's just so annoying and frustrating. And not just bad, like frustrating, which to me is like the biggest sin of a video game. Like frustration in a video game is enough to make you want to quit. So and there's always at least one of those levels in Sonic games that always bothers me. I agree with you about Marble Zone. Like Marble Zone,
I hate Marble
is
Zone.
so slow. Like, I mean, like we said before, it is fun to go to platform and stuff, but just like, oh, Marble Zone, it's so frustrating because if you die, you have to go back so far, and to go through those damn like lava platform levels is just so, it's awful.
And the music is just.
That was the
Totally.
greatest thing ever.
Jeez.
Okay, Tabat Ick has a question for you, Jim. He wants you to play brilliant or rubbish with a few things.
Okay.
So we'll just go through these really quickly, and you can say brilliant or rubbish. The Knuckles. Okay, the first one. The Knuckles connection cartridge that let you play Knuckles in the older game.
Brilliant.
Having a real ending by completing the stupid crystal minigames.
I'd say rubbish.
Losing all the ring collections from being hit once.
Very rubbish.
Sonic. Oh, see, I can't ask you this one. He said Sonic CD, which is totally brilliant. I'll answer that one. Brilliant. Brilliant. The new Sonic RPG. Dude, that's tough.
Oh, Sonic Chronicles.
Yeah.
Oh, rubbish.
Oh, really? I thought you'd say maybe in the middle, but I guess you can't if you have to choose.
BioWare made it. What do you fucking reckon?
And then the last
BioWare
one.
makes a good game once every 10 years, and neither Sonic Chronicles or Mass Effect was one of them.
I thought actually you wouldn't even have liked Sonic Chronicles as much as you did because it was made by BioWare. I was worried that you were going to give it a 0 before playing it. It's been like 0.
It's okay, but there's so many problems with it.
Yeah.
It's like
And this
your
last
characters never hit the enemies. Like there's a 50-50 chance of your hits connecting, which is a sin in an RPG.
Oh my god, that sounds really annoying.
I actually, because each of your characters attacks twice a round, and you've got 4 characters, so that's 8 attacks. I once missed 8 attacks in a row.
Wow. That's probably worse than 50-50, because if you flip the coin 8 times, you're going to get heads at least one of those times. That's crazy. This last one's funny. This is like obviously a joke for a Podtoid reference, but a hypothetical for his last brilliant or rubbish, a hypothetical guest appearance by Sonic the Hedgehog in Boner Quest.
Very, very brilliant.
Yeah, of course. So amazing. Verdigris. By the way, I want to thank everyone for adding these pronunciation keys.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
This is just changing my life. It's so helpful. Verdigris says, first RetroforceGO question from me ever. Yay. That's great. And Topher, you'll appreciate this. He or she, I'm guessing, actually, I'm not even going to guess. I'm just going to say he or she, says, first off, shame on Chad, Stella, and Colette for not getting Topher's Bobby's World joke.
Thank you.
I got it after the show.
Stella did
That
get
was a
it right
stupid thing.
after we finished recording.
See,
Yeah, I told him about that.
I
and then he
actually
was like,
watch
yeah, you're right.
Bobby's World once in a while, so I feel bad that I didn't get it, but I just probably wasn't.
You should feel bad.
I do feel bad, so I apologize.
I didn't get the name, but if he said Bobby's World, that would have made more sense, because I didn't remember that actor's name.
I'm totally sorry, Topher, about that.
Sorry. Well, I got it after the show, so it's okay.
I'll beat both of you later.
Yes. My dream
Don't beat
comes
me
true.
too hard.
Oh, wow. Get a room. Vertiger says, this question made me laugh for some odd reason, but which Sonic buddy, quote unquote, would you not mind seeing brutally murdered in front of his or her own family? and he says, I personally wouldn't mind seeing Shadow, but I think that's kind of an obvious one. Honestly, that's a tough call.
No, actually, Shadow has potential.
I agree with you on Shadow.
He looks awesome. He looks fucking cool.
He's a coolly designed
They
character,
managed
right?
to mess him up so much. I mean, he's the best one in Sega Superstars Tennis. He's awesome.
That's
It's
what
the
that's
first
got
time
something to
He
he's
do
does
been
look
awesome.
cool, but he talks like Clint Eastwood and he carries a fucking
It's-
gun.
He does carry a gun, which is annoying. I would say one of the really annoying, like, completely generic characters. Like, what is that game, Sonic Heroes, where like you play in like teams? Like, there's like one team with 3 people I've never even heard of before. Like, I would have to choose one of them. Like,
Chaotix. Team Chaotix. No, they
Maybe-
were
maybe that's
in
it.
Knuckles Chaotix. That game. Oh. I bought that game. I bought that game one summer. Within 6 hours, the disc was broken.
Oh.
Like, actually shattered, where I took it out and just whooped it against the wall. It was so infuriating. And what the fuck was that theme tune about as well? I mean, how do you go from do 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 to Sonic Heroes? It just doesn't make sense.
I completely agree with you. Sonic
What the hell was
Heroes.
that shit on Dreamcast? You remember that first level?
Oh yeah, it had that.
just said that. Jesus.
With that
Sonic
horrible
Adventure.
song?
That song was terrible.
What college is Sega getting these bands from?
Fuck that
Do you remember
song.
how it goes, Topher? Do that again, Topher. Do that again.
No, I'm not gonna do I'm not gonna do it again.
That was amazing. Oh, you know what I hated too? Big the cat. He's annoying.
Yeah.
I think the one I'd kill off would be Cream the Rabbit, just because it's just so lazy. It's like, what animal have we not picked? A rabbit. Okay, what do we call it? There's some cream in the fridge. We'll call it that. It's it's so lazy. It's just like, that's how they create characters. Pick an animal we haven't used yet.
Well, there's also
Find a
cheese.
random word.
There's also Cheese the Chow, which
That's
is
right.
like, which is the rabbit's like, I think that's his name.
Little
Cheese the Chow.
Pokemon.
Yeah,
And
it's his
he's
little poke.
cheese.
It's like it's like the rabbit's little Pokemon friend, which is
Yeah.
really annoying.
I think that was like once they introduced the Chows to turn it into a Pokemon thing and the anime Sonic. My first reaction was just, Japan has come to claim the Hedgehog back. They've let the West enjoy it far too long. Let's
Yeah, you're
stretch
totally
him out,
right.
give him big anime eyes, and throw Pokemon at him.
Yeah.
The Chow isn't actually that bad. They actually used the Chow quite well. Like Sonic Advance has a little Chow garden, and it's almost like a little Tamagotchi. And it's completely not necessary and has nothing to do with the game, but it's kind of cute. And
That's kinda cool.
I mean, one of the best things about Sonic Chronicles was you could equip Chow. They were a piece of equipment. You'd find eggs around the map, hatch the eggs, and then you'd randomly get a Chow that could bestow some sort of benefit on you, and there were like common ones and rare ones, and you could trade them wirelessly. And that was really nice. So I think the Chow are very inoffensive. They've kind of very subtly crept into the Sonic canon, and the fact that Sonic has a canon makes me sick.
Yeah, that's actually my biggest problem with it.
Sonic and canon
They
shouldn't be in the same sentence.
I know.
But anyway, the Chow are there, and I think they use the Chow as far as like sandwiched characters go. The Chow have always been very well. But I'd get rid of Cream just because she's lazy. But
She's an annoying name too.
You can keep Rouge. Always keep Rouge.
Yeah, Rouge isn't bad.
She'd get it.
Grafcon. That seems like it should be easy, but I'm having problems tonight. This is a really simple question, and I think I know the answer already, but he just simply says, will there ever be a good 3D Sonic game?
Check back next week to find out.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, would you consider that 3D? Because I still consider that more 2D, because I guess when I think of 3D, I think of like an open world 3D game, Sonic game, which I don't think would ever be good.
No, they keep building a hub world in Sonic games. It's in Unleashed as well. Hopefully not too much. But one was in Sonic 2006 as well. I don't know why they keep doing it. I don't know the need for a hub, but if anything...
I don't understand that either.
Yeah. It proves that an open world Sonic could never work, because they just can't. The
It's
controls
just not designed for that. This is a question about Super Smash Brothers, which I won't go into too much because that could turn into like a ridiculous conversation. But Caduceus just wants to know if you guys were as disappointed with him with Sonic and Smash Brothers. If like, I don't know if you guys are Smash Brothers fans, but I am, and I was horribly disappointed by Sonic because Sonic plays terribly in that game. I don't know if he was gonna play good anyway, ever, but I just thought it was.
I don't think he was.
I don't know how that could really have ever played good, a Sonic in a fighting game, but I don't know. I just always just like in Sonic 2006, I constantly died as Sonic in Smash Brothers because it's like he's impossible to control. Do you play Smash Brothers a lot still?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and Sonic, are you not a fan?
I just used Kirby so much. I didn't even touch Sonic because all my friends kept dying. Yeah, it's too much Kirby.
Yeah. Rio, this is so not.
Oh my god.
I know this is not like a good like podcast thing because it's completely visual. But you guys have to go on Destructoid because Rio posted all these pictures of
Awesome
her as a little
pictures.
girl, in front of all these Sonic things, like her
Those
playing
are awesome
Sonic and her.
pictures too.
Wait, what'd you say, Topher?
Those are
The
awesome
Sonic
pictures.
Community.
Yeah, they're really awesome pictures.
Those
So
are awesome
I just want to
pictures.
give her a shout out and say thank you for that. That was so nice for sharing, and like the pictures are great. So people need to go on Destructoid.com and check that out because it's a really, really, really cool. This is a question I'm asking, and please don't laugh at me if I'm falling into some like make fun of Chad trap. But I'm only asking this because the person sounds genuine, and I'm like, is this true? And
No.
if so, like my mind is blown.
No.
Random Bullseye asks, did you guys ever read the rumors that Michael Jackson did the music for Sonic 3?
Huh?
I'm not sure if it was ever confirmed or not.
I'm sure I've heard that rumor many years ago.
I'd never
True.
heard of this.
Yeah, I've never even
Doubt.
heard that rumor. Is that really
Yeah,
a rumor?
this is the first time I've heard
I
this.
think it's a real rumor. It sounds. I can't pinpoint where I heard it. It sounds very
Wow.
familiar.
That's
Um,
random.
But I
Crazy.
would. It is just a rumor, and it's
Oh
probably
yeah, it
made
has to be. I
on in a
mean,
playground somewhere.
Yeah, that has
but,
to be. That sounds too far fetched.
but those kinds of rumors are always fun to play.
oh yeah, that's really fun. Can you imagine if I found that out? Like how much more respect I'd have for Michael Jackson. That'd be
Or
so.
less.
Of course,
I really.
We'll find out that he did. The guy who just posted that did pull it out of his arse, and here I am saying it sounds familiar.
I know.
And I just look like a complete dickhead.
Well, that's what I'm worried about even bringing it up because I'm like, he's probably just like, ah ha ha, like Chad asked it, ha ha ha, like, but whatever.
Well, I didn't
Um,
hear of it, so
I had never heard it either, but
yeah.
I have to point this person out, Nebin. He says, he or she says, horn tootin' time. And it's not even a question, but they say
Yeah.
since I was the United States points champion in Sonic 3, ask for details. I'd love to add any input on either the first or third installments of the series. So I don't know what this means, but I'm completely curious. You got me interested.
Ah,
So
sorry,
if
can I
you-
just
if
point
you-
out? Can I
Yeah,
just
email
point something
us.
out?
Yeah.
Sega. I just looked it up. Sega hired Michael Jackson to do the music for Sonic 3. Is what
Oh
I'm reading.
really?
Oh,
But at the same time, those allegations about the kiddie fiddling came out, and Sega. Here we are, music controversy. I just looked it up. It's on Wikipedia. Originally, Sega hired Michael Jackson to compose the music for Sonic 3. News broke out about the scandal, and Sega dropped the deal. Although his songwriting team composed the soundtrack and are in the credits. So
wow.
Jackson's
Interesting.
team did the music. So
That's
yeah.
interesting.
Apparently, there are notable similarities between the music recorded for Sonic 3 and music from Jackson's Dangerous album, apparently. So if you want to go and there are, from what I can
Wow.
see from my search here, there are videos on YouTube that sort of show the links with the music. So there you
I'm
go.
gonna go there right after this. That's awesome. I had never even heard of that before. Wow. But this person
Might not
Nebin,
be
like,
either.
it sounds like this person Nebin was like the United States points champion at some point, and I don't even know what that means. Like, I mean, does that mean he's in the Guinness Book World of Records? Is he just like, was there an old competition? Like, so please, Nebin, if you're, I mean, hopefully you're listening. If you don't mind writing Retroforce at Destructo.com, I would love to start getting into a conversation with you because you
like
say
to
ask
hear
for
about that
details,
too.
and I'm asking for details. So please write us, and I would love to talk to you more because if you were at any point were the world record holder for Sonic 3, that's pretty awesome, and I think that's really cool that you listen to our show. So yeah, so other than that, I mean, we kind of went through everything. I had some questions, but we covered like everything. So if I didn't get to your question, I totally
cartoons.
apologize. Oh yeah, well I do want to. Yeah, we should definitely bring that up. Good call. Yeah, Sonic Adventure, the cartoon.
Oh my god,
It was
Best
so
show.
good.
it was
And
really good.
The reason I loved it so much is when I was watching it, I always like loved the voice of Sonic. I thought the guy who did the voice of Sonic was great. And I always said to myself, if I ever create a cartoon someday or some kind of, thing where I need to cast a voice, I would use Sonic's voice because I thought it was like the perfect voice. And then to come to find out that the damn person who did the voice of Sonic was Jaleel White from freaking
Cool.
Family Matters. And And I
That
don't
was
know
a big
why that
surprise
should,
to me too.
I don't know why that should matter to me because, like, I mean, if it's the voice is fine, it doesn't matter who it is. But for some reason, that annoyed me so much that I like refused to watch that show again. I don't know
Really?
why.
I thought
Yeah,
he did
like,
a good job in it.
no, he did a great job. Like, obviously, I loved his voice because, like, I was obsessed with it. But I don't know why. But Urkel, like, was one of those characters that drove me so insane that I just couldn't accept the fact that Urkel did the voice for like one of the coolest cartoons ever.
Oh,
So that
so
always bothered me. But
it was more
um,
darker than the other cartoon that
It was
aired.
very dark because they had Robotnik was this like evil dictator, wasn't he?
It
yeah,
was more serious too, because they
Yeah.
had to like group up of freedom fighters and had to fight against Robotnik that kidnapped the king of the area.
And he wasn't Sonic's granddad trapped inside a metal Sonic.
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That was
Grim stuff. I
That
mean,
was
I only
really
vaguely
good
remember
stuff.
it because I followed. I was more a watcher of the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which came. I was getting out of cartoons, I think, when that kind of came on. But I watched the original, which was more of a comedy thing, and it had Scratch and Grounder in it, who are awesome.
No, all I know about those cartoons
Um,
is that they resulted in a lot of screen caps of Amy getting raped that became everybody's forum avatar.
Mm.
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Gosh,
Where you're totally
I
right.
totally forgot.
I think I should also give just a shout out to no one will remember, but the end credit sequence of the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which involved a visual gag of Robotnik trying to trap Sonic the Hedgehog in
I remember that.
under a big weight, and then Sonic ran under the weight and it didn't fall, and then Robotnik went under the weight and it crushed him. So there's that. I also should point out it's a big. It's very UK. Again, it might be a reason why the UK loves Sonic so much. But the Sonic the comic needs a mention. It wasn't something I had many of, but from what I read, they were brilliant comics.
Yeah, I do
And if
remember that.
Sonic
too.
Team ever wanted to put story in, just copy Sonic the comic. Sonic the comic also had a Decap Attack comic in the back, which is just brilliant. So that needed a shout out because I know people would be upset if it didn't get a mention.
Yeah, I was gonna mention the comics. Actually, I wasn't a big comics guy, but I do remember the Sonic comic, and I remember people actually really liking it, which is kind of cool because it seems like a lot of video games can't really. The cartoons and the comics of video games usually always really bad. It's kind of cool that Sonic had a good cartoon. The cartoon I really loved. One thing about the cartoon I thought was cool too is it was almost like a serial series even. Like I remember it kind of continued. Like the story, like it wasn't just like it wasn't like a Looney Tunes where it's like every week there was like just like a different wacky thing. It's like the story kind of continued every week. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, I followed that
Yeah, I thought
religiously.
that was
I
awesome.
woke up so early just to watch that.
Yeah. But yeah, okay, well, I think we pretty much covered everything. This is like the ultimate. Okay, if people like in school ever decide to study Sonic, they need to use this as a reference guide. Because Jim would be like the greatest professor of like a Sonic class in college because he knows
like
more
the
about Sonic than
Yeah.
probably the people that created Sonic.
I could see him
I
sitting
don't know
on
that
a
much.
video
I
game
don't know.
documentary,
Yeah.
and then they have Jim Sterling sitting in his chair with a bottle of brandy, and his title that comes up under his name is Sonic Analyst.
Professor of Sonicology.
Professor of Sonicology.
Sonicology!
I'm a Sonicologist.
Okay, that's the best new word ever. That's awesome. But yeah, we obviously all love Sonic, and everyone go out and buy, or at least demo, Sonic Unleashed. Is a demo even out
Actually,
yet?
wait, it's not out yet. I believe they're trying to make it look as misleadingly good as possible.
Gotcha.
We'll say. I would just advise you to wait for the review. You probably won't believe me. People don't. But if the game is shit, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'm playing a lot of it on Friday, so if you're thinking of buying it, I would suggest you try and get hold. I mean, I'm obviously working with my moving country, but I'll be around. If you're thinking of picking it up, just have a chat with me on Friday, and I should be able to tell you a lot more. But I'm hoping to come back with good news.
That's what I'm hoping too, because this would be the perfect opportunity for Sonic to kind of get off to a better, I don't want to say start because it's been around forever, but you know what I mean, kind of like a reboot.
Yeah,
So-
that's right. Turn over a new leaf.
Really fresh.
Yes, exactly. So, all right. Well, this week's winner is to Batik. Thank you for the pronunciation. So we liked your questions. We thought it was clever that you not only asked good Sonic questions, but you also asked questions to Jim. We just thought that was like a nice way of bringing him in on the show and stuff. So yay, congratulations. Send your shipping information to retroforce at destructoid.com. Wow, I'm like really out of it today. And then we will ship you your amazing prize. So thanks for that. Thanks for everyone for the great questions. Sorry we couldn't get to them all, but we always have so many that the show would be 50,000 hours long. And then we would all die of old age in the middle of the show, which would be depressing. And then no one would be alive to post it. And now I'm going to stop talking. So, thanks again. Honestly, wait, actually, I can't even just say thanks again. This is like capital letters with an exclamation point. Thanks again, Jim, for coming on. You were unbelievably good, and thank you so much for all your amazing Sonic knowledge.
Thank you for having me on. I know I said to Topher a few weeks ago, just if you're ever doing a Sonic episode, can I be on it, please? And so, I'm honoured to have been on it. It was a good laugh, and hopefully all of your regular RetroforceGO listeners will come back next week.
Of course. Most of our RetroforceGO winners listeners love you. Plus, I think we're going to be getting some extra ones this week because you're on. So, in no way was this a negative thing. This is all positive. So, but thanks again, and good luck.
That makes me smile.
Yay! Mission accomplished. And also, good luck on your move, man. That's like gigantic. The next time I talk to you, like on Skype or something, you'll be here, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. I'd have completely lost the accent as well, of course.
Yeah, it'll be gone immediately.
Yeah.
Well, trust me.
I'm getting the virus.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, you're gonna be going from one extreme accent to another, so be prepared.
Because I just talk like Sonic all the time, like you did, and you'll be just fine.
Yes.
Yes.
Wait, my favorite thing.
Hedgehog.
My favorite thing you said was, "Just let the wind run through your hair." Oh, God. That was amazing. So
your smile's the only thing I need.
As long as you're smiling, I can go on.
Oh God.
I'm not even joking.
That is so amazing. So thanks for everyone. Of course, thanks to Jim. And Sonic's great, and we love you all, and we will see you guys next. Oh, well, okay, I should just tell you now. Next week we will be recording early again as well because it's Thanksgiving. So we're doing a special Thanksgiving show, but we're recording on Tuesday again. So yeah, so just be prepared because I know what's going to happen is on Thursday of this week, people are going to go on that didn't even know we even posted a show expecting our post, and they're going to be all angry that they missed it. So I'm just giving you a heads up. So next week on Tuesday, we're also recording. So with that, I guess we'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Very good.